a presentation of WGN Sports.
It's another cloudy baseball night in the heart of Dixie. Beautiful Atlanta, Georgia, the site of Game 2 of this two-game set. And the booming bats of the Chicago Cubs come a-calling. They'll try to lambaste the Braves and come home with a big 4-1 road trip with a win tonight, hopefully against Greg Maddux at Turner Field here on WGN Sports. Hello again, everybody, along with Steve Stone, Chip Caray. The Cubs with a record-setting offensive performance, Steve. 2 straight games with 20 or more hits, 2 straight games with double digits in run scores. In a word, what's gotten into the Cubs offense?
I don't think anybody knows, but certainly it comes at the right time because the Cubs knew this was a critical road trip. Take a look at the offense the last 2 games, and it's hard to believe 41 hits. If you get 41 hits, you know you're going to score runs, and the Cubs are hitting the ball out of the ballpark, and the pitching has been pretty good.
And Sergio Mitre, the youngster up from Double-A, is probably saying, guys, I hope you saved a few for me today, for he's facing Greg Maddux.
Sergio's not going to be intimidated. He is a sinker baller. He does have a slider. You see the velocity there is not overpowering. He does have to keep it down, and the one thing he has to guard against is being a little too psyched up.
Sounds a little bit like a young Greg Maddux. Now, that's way too early to make that kind of comparison, especially with Maddux on his way to the Hall of Fame. But he's been a long-time stalwart for this Atlanta staff, and he's pitching well again.
He also fields well. He bunts well. There's nothing he doesn't do well. This year, the ERA a little bit higher than he'd like. But Greg Maddux has always thrown very well against the Cubs, so it's going to be a great night. And if the Cubs come home 4-1, it's going to be some road trip.
Hopefully ground to be gained. They enter play tonight just 3.5 games behind the first-place Astros, and they're brimming with confidence. It's the Cubs and the Braves from Turner Field in Atlanta. Starting lineup some more come your way after this.
Chicago Cubs baseball, brought to you by Budweiser. The best things in life are the things that are true. Budweiser. Comcast Cable and High-Speed Internet, proud sponsor of Chicago Cubs baseball. Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. The Illinois Lottery, where players have more fun. Pepsi, the official soft drink of the Chicago Cubs. And by Southwest Airlines, more than 2,700 nonstop daily flights to 59 destinations all across the country.
Hey, Cubs fans, keep your eye on the ball.
It's a line drive deep to right. That ball is gone.
Every time a Cubs player hits a homer at Wrigley, you could be a winner. It's the Southwest Airlines How Far Did It Fly home run contest. After every Cub homer, write down the distance along with your name and address and send it to WGN TV. 10 winners will receive 2 round-trip tickets to any Southwest Airlines destination. For every Cubs homer, ask yourself, how far did it fly? From Southwest Airlines, official airline of the Chicago Cubs.
When I look at Steve and Jenny, I just think, wow. Now, there's a guy who shouldn't be getting married. You should have seen him a week ago at his bachelor party. There was dancers all around him, and he was crying, I don't want to get married. I don't want to get married. And I'm like, shut up, man. She's loaded. Because that's what's important. You know, that love.
When you hit the brakes, a whole lot of things have to go just right. It's the same with brake repair. That's why you can count on Midas, America's trusted leader in brakes. Right now, get $20 instant savings on any brake service from Midas, even on Midas's famous lifetime brake pads and shoes, the last set of pads or shoes you'll ever buy. That's $20 instant savings right now from the auto service experts, Midas.
And the streak has reached 3. Yes, friends, the Cubs with a 3-game winning streak enter play tonight at Turner Field in Atlanta. Just 3.5 games behind the first place Houston Astros in the National League Central. And Steve, you have to go back a long, long way to find out the last time the Cubs had back-to-back games of 20 hits or more. Our good friends at Stats Inc. did that yesterday and could not find any such back-to-back games since the advent of divisional play for the Chicago Cubs. So Dusty Baker's club riding an unbelievable hot offensive spell.
It's especially impressive when you look at the two teams in which the offense had to go to work, and that was Florida and Atlanta, two teams that throw the ball pretty well. And the Cubs tonight will have to beat a longtime tormentor. Greg Maddux, 10-3 lifetime against them. And Tom Goodwin is looking for some semblance of the same night he had last night with 5 hits.
In 6 tries, you see the rest of the Cubs Pepsi lineup. Goodwin, Grudzielanek, and Sosa, the top 3, with Alu hitting 4th. Those are the 4 men who did the bulk of the damage to the Atlanta pitching staff yesterday. And Tom Goodwin, 5 for 6, leads off and fouls it away. Tom just 3 hits away from 1,000 in his career, but it's tough to have a 3-hit game against the masterful Greg Maddux of the Braves.
Normally you would say be patient, take some pitches, get the pitcher in a hole. With Greg Maddux, it's just the opposite. He will throw strike one most of the time. You go up, look first ball fastball, and hope you get it.
That pitch darts inside. 2 balls and a strike to Tom Goodwin. Scott Nelson, the home plate umpire and also the Cubs assistant general manager, so a big advantage for the Cub attack here tonight. 2-1 the count to Goodwin, and that's out of play to the left side. 2-2.
You have to hope that Goodwin gets on. He is the running attack for the Cubs, and Mark Grudzielanek has always had luck against Maddux, so if Goodwin can get on, it sets up a world of possibilities.
All Goodwin has done since Corey Patterson went down with an knee injury is hit .500. 14 hits and 28 at bats with 6 stolen bases. And he has enabled Dusty Baker to play a very different style of baseball these last 2.5 weeks than we saw when Mark Grudzielanek was the team's leadoff man. A slow roller hit to Giles, and Goodwin is out number 1 here in the top of the first.
Let's take a look at the defense and how they'll line up behind Greg Maddux. It's Chipper Jones. You're looking at Andrew Jones, one of the best in the business, with Gary Sheffield left to right. Castilla for Cal, Giles and Fick in the infield. Blanco behind the plate, and Henry Blanco can catch it and throw it. And Greg Maddux on the hill, who perennially resides with the Gold Glove.
13 straight seasons with the Gold Glove. The only man who's won more consecutively was Jim Cott, who took home 16 consecutive Gold Glove awards on the mound. And a quick strike to Mark Grudzielanek. He's 4 for 6 in the series and has scored 4 times.
Pretty good numbers for Grudzielanek. Very good numbers for Karros. A wonderful trade for Jim Hendry, getting them from the Dodgers.
Maddux gets the outside corner. 0-2.
He's already changing his pattern. That's the first time I can remember seeing him throw back-to-back breaking balls to a right-hand hitter early in the game. He usually throws a lot of sinkers. He's got a great straight change, and of course he's always had impeccable control.
19 wins away from 300 is Greg Maddux. It'll be very interesting to see where he plays next year. He's making a huge amount of money. No one's saying that he has not earned every penny of it. But in these economic times, one has to wonder if the Braves, even with their great television setup and a new ballpark, can they afford to give an older Greg Maddux $15 to $17 million again, or a multi-year contract?
Well, I think he'll be looking for a multi-year contract. When I asked him how long he wanted to play, he said, oh, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years. So he keeps himself in great shape. There's no end in sight as far as Greg Maddux is concerned.
2-2. Ground ball 2 for Cal at short. That one rolled up his arm a bit, but he recovers and takes care of the number 2 hitter, Mark Grudzielanek.
The one number that jumps out at you when you look at all the statistics and everything that Greg Maddux has accomplished during the course of his career, since the All-Star break of 1991, when Greg Maddux gets at least 5 runs of support, he's 132-4.
That's just incredible.
It's one of the amazing numbers in a wonderful career.
And you remember in his early days with the Braves, they were not nearly such a fearsome offensive ball club as they are now. So the likelihood for Atlanta on a daily basis to get 5 runs is much greater for Maddux this season than at any other time. So look for him to really go on a big second half run. He's 8-8 at this point in the season.
He's going to have to go on a big run because the Atlanta pitching staff this year are mere mortals.
Sosa rifles that back toward us. No balls, 2 strikes.
Bobby Cox in that dugout is one guy that, regardless of what he gets, regardless of what kind of team he has, he's able year after year after year to just win.
11 straight division titles, 12 if you count one in Toronto before he came back to Atlanta. Robert Fick will handle. No, he won't handle. He drops that ball. That's got to be an error.
That'll be E3.
E3 indeed is the call, and Maddux will have to work again here. There's a break for Sosa. Let's see if he can cash it in.
Well, Maddux got the fastball in and broke Sammy's bat. He should be out of the inning. He's not. And maybe with another life, Sammy will make the Braves pay. That's probably the one weak spot in this defense. Fick has some trouble throwing the ball to second. Normally, he's pretty reliable as far as hands are concerned. That time he just booted it, and nothing you can do about that.
That's why you have two hands. You might have been able to use the other one to secure the baseball. Sosa rolls that off the plate and stays alive.
Well, one thing to bear in mind when you're a sinker baller, as is Greg Maddux and as is Sergio Mitre, you get a lot of balls hit back to you, especially when you keep the ball away from the right-hand hitters. That's why Maddux is a very busy man. That's why he's been able to win as much as he has, because he can really field.
Broken bat, fly ball to right. Sheffield comes in, and that will retire the side. No runs, hits, one error, none left. After a half inning, Sergio Mitre set to make his major league debut when we return.
These everyday low fares to your favorite vacation destinations start at just $49.
You're now free to move about the country.
Imagine cruising in your brand new Kia Spectra. You got the tunes cranked, the controls at your fingertips, and cash in your pocket. And with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, you're not worried about a thing. Just driving and taking in that new car smell. You know, the real kind. Not that stuff that comes in a bottle. The Kia Spectra, loaded with features for thousands less than a Civic. Imagine that. Now get the Kia Spectra starting at $8,235 after $4,000 cash back.
Right. Got it. Yeah. Well, that's great news. I appreciate it. Goodbye. Well, I've got some fantastic news.
I'm not here.
No, it was Geico. Just saved myself a bunch of money on my car insurance.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Last night, the Cubs snapped a 5-game winning streak for the Atlanta Braves, and Bobby Cox, their longtime skipper, lines them up again this way with Furcal leading off. Marcus Giles at second. Gary Sheffield has really been handled by the Cubs this year. He's in right field. Then it's Chipper and Andrew Jones, respectively. Robert Fick is at first. Vinny Castilla's worn out Cub pitching this season. He'll play third base. Henry Blanco and Greg Maddux to face Sergio Mitre, who's making his major league debut tonight.
There's the Pepsi defense and how they'll line up behind Sergio. It's Alou, Goodwin, and Sosa left to right. Harris, Gonzalez, Grzelcyk, and Karros. Paul Bacco behind the plate. And there you look at the man that helped the Cubs win that 1-0 ball game, throwing out two great base runners back to back. Show you how sharp Bobby Cox is. He motioned out to Scott Nelson. The ball was in the dirt. Changed the baseball. And Scott Nelson went out and changed the ball and gave Mitre another one. So a psychological game. You take the ball away from a new pitcher and you give him a new one that he hasn't used to start the game.
Here's Furcal. He slaps at that ball, grounds it toward third. Harris a little trouble, and they got his man. And over at first, Jim Joyce, I think, twisted his ankle, making the out call.
He might have hurt himself.
Well, that'd be the second umpire that hurt himself today. Another one tore a calf muscle earlier this afternoon in a ball game.
Well, we'll watch it again as Furcal tries a slug bunt. He tries to hit it at shortstop and beat it out. He is out at first, but you look at Jim Joyce, who looks like his knee might have given way, and they're out there talking to him, and he looks to be in a lot of discomfort.
Yeah, Darrell Cousins earlier today in Kansas City
tore a calf muscle, and he was umpiring third base and had to go out of the ball game. And so here in the first inning, Jim Joyce hurt his leg.
Well, I love to see for Cal early in the count making it happen, because it's been 8 days since Mitre has started, which means he's going to be overly strong, which isn't good for a sinker baller. So the only thing I worry about is control.
Joyce will stay in the game, and 1 pitch, 1 out brings up Marcus Giles. Again, the scouting report on Sergio Mitre.
He's a sinker baller. The fastball 90-91. Now that one was 93. He is a little overly strong right now, but he does have a slider. And one of the reasons why they brought him to the major leagues, Oneri Fleta telling Jim Hendry that he's not going to be intimidated, that this is a tough kid, that although you'd like to see him develop a little bit more, they didn't think he would be intimidated in this start.
He's the second Cub prospect from the 2001 draft to make it to the major leagues. The other you might know pretty well. His name's Mark Pryor. And Mitre now has a 2-2 count on Marcus Giles, the fine Atlanta second baseman.
Well, I talked with him yesterday. He's an engaging young man who felt that he would be able to keep his emotions in check tonight.
And a ground ball up the middle off the bat of Giles. There's the first base hit of the game for Atlanta. He's aboard in front of Gary Sheffield, who really struggled at the plate last night.
Talking to Terry Pendleton about Gary Sheffield, I said, why is he having the great year, and when he has problems, what does he do? He said the ball looks so good to him that he starts swinging at everything, getting a little over anxious. We saw it last night with the bases loaded. He got himself out on a pitcher's pitch. He's got very quick hands inside, and he usually will pull it down the line if you try to go inside.
And the tale of the game was told in the 4th inning last evening. Atlanta was leading 5-4. They had the bases loaded, nobody out. They just chased Sean Estes out of the game. Marcus Giles struck out on a ball that was a foot out of the strike zone. Sheffield against Dave Veers popped up the first pitch for the second out, and then Chipper Jones rolled out to retire the side. Cubs got 3 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th, 3 more in the 8th, and blew Atlanta out of the ballpark. 15-6 the final score.
And you hit the key, Chip, when you said that he popped up on the first pitch. Veers made a very good pitch. Sheffield was over anxious, and he could not drive home a run.
A ball and a strike. Giles running, and it's cracked down the left field line and out of play. 1-2. And you will be very impressed with Dave Veers' work of last night.
He came in with the bases loaded, nobody out, no margin for error, and you see Sheffield over anxious, and Veers got out of the inning. You can't get a save that early, but if you're going to look for one, that was the inning, and Dave wound up with a much-deserved win.
And so the Cubs with 3 straight enter play tonight. 3.5 games out of first place. They'll hope for a little help from the Pittsburgh Pirates tonight. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Giles not moving, and the breaking ball off the plate evens it up at 2-2.
Well, I like what he did there. That's the second speed of breaking ball we've seen. Sheffield, normally a very difficult man to strike out. He's fanned just 31 times in 343 at bats. One of the toughest guys to strike out in the league. And couple that with tremendous power, and you've got yourself a perennial all-star.
And another big decision for the Braves.
Well, I think they're going to sign him or make every attempt to. As far as Greg Maddux, that's a difficult decision, especially if he's looking for a multi-year deal, because this is a team with a very firm payroll at this point.
2 balls, 2 strikes. High and tight. And a decision for Bobby Cox. Do you turn Giles loose with Sheffield in the box?
You absolutely send him. Not thinking that Sheffield is going to strike out. You can get to strike him out, throw him out. But the tough part of that is striking out Sheffield. Giles has swiped 8 bases, and he's going, I believe.
Short lead. He is going, and the pitch bounced toward third. Lenny to his left, and Karros digs it out at first. So runner at second, 2 men out. They stay out of the double play. And now it's Chipper Jones, he of the sore left wrist, batting with a man at second and 2 men down.
Chipper Jones has been a better hitter from the right side. That's his natural side. However, the power disparity is startling. 14 home runs as a left-hand hitter, just 1 as a right-hand hitter, and he said it hurts him very much to swing from the right side. You couldn't even consider becoming a full-time left-hand hitter during the course of a season. You'd have to start in spring training if you're going to do that. I don't think he's going to do it.
Runner at second, 2 outs for Jones. And a line drive center field. Goodwin broke in, drifting back. It's over his head. That step cost him. Chipper Jones on his way to second. It's 1-0 Atlanta. That one step in cost Tom any chance of making the play.
Any center fielder will tell you that the toughest play is the one hit right at you and over your head. And Tom Goodwin was fooled. Cost him a double. Cost the Cubs a run. And it's RBI number 59. Jones hits this ball right on the button. Normally Goodwin makes this play. He doesn't make it this time.
So it's 1-0 Braves as Chipper Jones drives in his 16th man in the last 13 games played. Ground ball to the left side at short. Alex picks it up and throws out Andrew Jones. Major League debut of Sergio Mitre. He gives up a first inning run. After 1, Braves lead it.
And you, Wyatt, how'd you make your first billion?
Oil and cattle. Let's call it offshore banking.
Ah! And you, Jones, we're all curious. How'd you make your first billion?
Me? Pepsi.
You invented Pepsi.
Oh, no, I just drank one.
Want your first billion? Enter Pepsi's Play for a Billion sweepstakes. 1,000 winners compete for a guaranteed million on live TV. And one may even win 1 billion.
You guys got a foosball table?
Check specially marked Pepsi products.
At Michelin, each tire goes through a series of rigorous tests, including a thorough hand inspection. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
Chill out, cash in. Buy 4 Michelin tires and get a $50 rebate. See your Michelin dealer. Offer ends July 31st.
Mosquitoes love me.
The common mosquito. 2,700 species worldwide. Top speed, 1.5 miles an hour. You're smart. I'm not smart, but dialing 1010-220, that's smart.
No monthly fees, no commitments. Just dial 1010-220.
Now that's smart.
Automobile Magazine All-Star. 5 years in a row.
Since the current BMW 5 Series was first introduced, we've found very little to improve on.
Winner, $35,000 to $40,000 category. AAA Auto Guide.
And apparently, many others would agree. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Get it all, get it here. Superstation WGN.
Atlanta gives Greg Maddux an early 1-run lead as we head to inning number 2 tonight. And friends, keep cool as the season heats up. Sport your summer threads. Get your caps, jerseys, shirts, and more at Cubs.com for all things baseball. Plenty of good seats are still available for this season's Cubs games. Get them by phone at 1-800-THE-CUBS, at the Wrigley Field box office, Cubs.com, or any Chicagoland Sears or Sears Hardware. We're back home for a brief 2-game series with the Phillies. And for those of you holding tickets, don't forget tomorrow night's game starts at 6 o'clock Central Time. 6 o'clock start tomorrow. Then Thursday, Kerry Wood and Vicente Padilla hook up right here on WGN. And 2 special treats for that Philadelphia series, about which we'll tell you momentarily as Alou backs away. Frank Sinatra Jr. will be singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game tomorrow. And then country crossover superstar Shania Twain on Thursday afternoon.
I favor that singing style a little better. You know, country is my life.
You're no dummy. Alou, a 3-game hit streak. A .271 career hitter, by the way, against Greg Maddux.
He's never hit a home run against him.
Rain falling a little more hard.
But maybe in the rain, he'll be able to do it. Maddux cracked 2 of Sosa's bats with that same at bat in the first inning.
And Alou feeling the effects of that foul ball off his foot. And speaking of Cubs tickets, a lot of great tickets available in the middle of August. A 4-game series with the Astros. August 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th. Right now, Houston, the hottest team in the National League Central. And that might be a critical battle for first place in the middle of August. So get those Cubs-Astros tickets at the addresses we showed you momentarily. Castilla had Alou played perfectly, and with a sore foot, knows he has plenty of time. 1 out.
Well, that's the key on that play. If you have a pitcher who can execute a game plan, then you can play a defense that usually works. He knew Maddux was going to either try to jam him or throw soft stuff away, and he played him right on the line. Normally, this is a double. But with Castilla right there, he throws him out easily. And Vinny Castilla has been one of the most sure-handed, better throwers around for a long time.
Eric Karros, the Cub hitter, at .330 on the season, 8 home runs and 23 runs batted in. Dusty Baker in the Chicagoland newspapers talked about the dilemma we brought up last night, and that is whom to play. This Cub team is very right-handed. And with Hee-Seop Choi not swinging a real good bat right now after coming off the disabled list, you don't really have a whole lot of time to try to develop him and get him going again, even though he swings the bat from the left side. Eric Karros, a veteran, has been swinging over 400 the last 20 games or so.
I'm all for the development of Hee-Seop Choi, and I hope he's a great player in the years to come. You've got to win now, and Karros is the hot hitter. And in this game, you ride the hot hitter as long as you possibly can, and that to me means that Eric might get the bulk of the play. The Cubs realize that in this, the 99th game, every game becomes critical, and Karros has done a magnificent job.
1-2 pitch. Line to right softly. Sheffield on the run. Cannot get there. Dropped softly in for the first Cub hit. Eric Karros was bemoaning the Cubs' attack at the plate after Redmond beat them down in Florida. He said we were not making any adjustments at all. Well, he was one guy that did, and he did it here tonight as well.
He went 2 for 3 against Redmond because he went to right and right center field. He took that little slider, or what Maddux likes to call a cut fastball, and dumped it down the right field line. So the Cubs have their first hit of the game. Karros able to grow that goatee in what, a day and a half?
Lenny Harris finally had his call at 1-800-GET-A-HIT answered last night. A double in the 5th inning.
That was very funny.
We were sitting in the hotel lobby, and Lenny was talking on his cell phone, or actually listening on his cell phone. I looked at him. He said, I'm on hold. I've called 1-800-GET-A-HIT. I said, are they answering? He said, no, I'm on hold.
Well, they answered last night, and he heard from a lot of his friends in Florida about that 1-800-GET-A-HIT. Hopefully they were on the line today.
1 ball, no strikes. Little tapper. They'll test Maddux. He'll look to second, and Fick handles the sinker. And Eric in scoring position, but with 2 outs for Alex Gonzalez. And before he tries to tie this game at 1, let's quickly pause for station identification.
You're watching the home to 100 American and National League games all season long. Superstation WGN.
Chip and Stoney from Turner Field in Atlanta. Nice-sized crowd gathering tonight. They had nearly 40,000 on a Monday night. Might approach that total again this evening. Braves home for 2 with the Cubs, then 2 with the Marlins before they head north of the border and play the Expos up in Montreal for 4.
Gonzalez had a good night last night. He does have a different approach. He's been hitting a lot more to straightaway center field.
Line drive right field, get down ball. It won't happen. Sheffield makes the play. A line out retires the Cubs in the second. 1-0 Atlanta.
Superstation WGN's got it all. From premier comedies and blockbuster movies to exciting action-adventure and year-round professional sports. Super Sports. Super movies, superstars, one super station.
I'm the greatest.
When you want a network that's got it all, get it all. Superstation, WGN.
Thanks for letting me bring Fifi.
Oh, anything for you, baby. I'd give you the moon, the stars, and the ultimate love potion. Ice cold Bud Light.
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
Don't worry, I got him.
Imagine cruising in your brand new Kia Spectra. You got the tunes cranked, the controls at your fingertips, and cash in your pocket. And with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, you're not worried about a thing. Just driving and taking in that new car smell. You know, the real kind. Not that stuff that comes in a bottle. The Kia Spectra, loaded with features for thousands less than a Civic. Imagine that. Now get the Kia Spectra starting at $8,235 after $4,000 cash back.
She's dark green, cash back, low intro, and end of the month. He's yellow, travel, everyday rate, and middle of the month. She's purple, travel, low intro, and beginning of the month. Bank One's Personal Platinum, the simple way to choose your rate, your reward, your billing date, even your color. Bank One's Personal Platinum, issued by us, but created by you. Individual answers. Bank One.
Braves have an early lead with Greg Maddux on the mound. Sergio Mitre out for his second major league inning tonight.
This will be an interesting at-bat because talking with everybody associated with the Braves, they say that Robert Fick might be the smartest hitter on the team in that he'll work counts. He'll take pitches and he'll get into hitters' counts more than anybody on this team. So never having seen Mitre, let's see what he does.
He's hitting a cool 300 with 53 runs batted in part-time duty. He and Julio Franco have formed a devastating platoon for the Braves over at first base. Those two men combined over 70 runs batted in together.
Well, this was a big addition, and he was taking that pitch all the way. So now he's 3 pitches into the at-bat. He's seen the fastball. He hasn't seen the change or the breaking ball yet.
1 ball, 1 strike to Robert Fick.
Last year with Detroit, pretty good year at 270. Drove in 63. So this was a low budget free agent acquisition for John Sherholtz.
Fick was a Tiger All-Star last season.
And here's an example of exactly what they were talking about. He's already run the count to 3-1. Now he pretty much knows for a young pitcher he's going to get a fastball. It's probably going to be away.
It was, but high and away, and Fick aboard, leading off Atlanta's second inning here tonight. And Cub killer Vinny Castilla comes up. We showed you in the starting lineups what he's done. We'll show it to you again. 12 hits in 19 at-bats against the Cubs this season, with a couple of home runs and 10 driven in.
One of the things he does with regularity is ground into double plays. He's grounded into 16 of them, far and away leading the ball club. Sergio is a sinker baller. He should get a lot of ground balls. He got 3 of them in the first inning.
A misjudged fly ball turned into the game's first run here tonight.
All in all, it was a pretty encouraging first inning because normally you're out of the inning. In this case, he wasn't. But he did get the ball over and he did throw ground balls, and that's what he has to do to be successful.
Good breaking ball. Castilla missed that by plenty. It's 0-2. Well, Joe Rios of the Cubs marketing department announces the Cubs have 15 and 30-person mezzanine suites available for Labor Day, Monday, September 1st and Tuesday, September 2nd. That is the 12:05 game, the first game of the day-night doubleheader, by the way, against the St. Louis Cardinals. If you'd like more information on mezzanine suites, call 773-404-2827 and ask for the mezzanine suites office. 1-2 your count. You know, we've traditionally done a bleacher game. Maybe you and I can get a game in one of the mezzanine suites.
Now you're talking. The food's terrific. The view is great. The service impeccable.
And the air conditioning ice cold.
Even better.
It's pretty scary when we're on the same wavelength. There's a high drive hammered left center field. A 1-2 pitch is going to leave the ballpark. Vinny Castilla does it again to the Cubs. And Atlanta has a 3-run lead.
Well, Chip, what happened was it was the 4th breaking ball in the same at bat. And this one he hung. And Castilla hits his 16th homer, drives in runs 53 and 54. And the fact that that was, well, the worst breaking ball in the sequence cost him the home run. The first 2 were terrific. They were low and away. This one he just hung. There's not much you can do about that. But having showed it to Castilla 3 times in the same at bat, now you can't afford to not throw it in a good spot, because you're liable to give up a home run. And the reaction of Mitre, he's very unhappy. He rolled the curveball and he paid for it.
Castilla has 19 hits in his last 34 at bats. The Cubs unfortunately got him hot in Chicago, and he hasn't stopped slugging since. So the Braves, behind that man and Greg Maddux, lead by 3. And that dreaded 5-run statistic you talked about earlier is looming larger and larger now.
Well, hopefully Sergio can right the ship and hold the Braves right there.
Popped up, middle of the diamond. Eric Karros makes the call and the catch for the first out.
This is a much different Braves team than we've seen in recent years. Yes, they've won 11 straight division titles, but for the most part they won it with pitching. This year they're 2nd in the league in offense, trailing only St. Louis. As far as runs, they've scored 544 runs. Only St. Louis and Colorado have scored more. And Terry Pendleton, the hitting coach, loves what he sees out of most of these guys.
What's not to like? You look up and down this lineup, and everybody's got 50 or more RBIs, it seems, with the exception of the 2 guys at the top. But for Cal and Giles, they're too busy scoring. High pop again. This one shallow left center field. And let's see if Tom can navigate successfully. He does. 2 men out.
One of the keys to this inning, and it's how good offensive team maximize home runs. The at bat by Fick. He kept on taking pitches. He drew the walk. Castilla hits the home run. Instead of the solo job, he gives him a 3-run lead with a 2-run homer. He also forces the pitcher to make more pitches in what normally is a very hot, humid climate. So starters run out of gas more quickly here. That's one of the reasons why the Braves have dominated at home.
Back to the top we go, and for Cal, the hitter, he tried to slug bunt his first time and was thrown out on a good play by Lenny Harris over at third base. At the belt inside corner for Cal, didn't like that call. Houston leads the Pirates in the 4th inning 2-0. Pittsburgh made a deal today. They traded Scott Sauerbank, fine left-handed relief pitcher, to the Boston Red Sox for right-handed reliever Brandon Lyon, who had 9 saves for Boston, and a minor league pitcher.
I think Lyon is probably going to be a closer.
Ground ball right side. Big hop for Karros. He'll have to hurry to the bag, and he just does. Beat for Cal. So Mitre rallies after the 2-run homer, but it's Atlanta by 3 after 2 innings of play at the 10.
And you, Wyatt, how'd you make your first billion?
Oil and cattle.
Let's call it offshore banking. Ah! And you, Jones, we're all curious. How'd you make your first billion?
Me? Oh, Pepsi.
You invented Pepsi.
Oh, no, I just drank one.
Want your first billion? Enter Pepsi's Play for a Billion sweepstakes. 1,000 winners compete for a guaranteed $1 million on live TV. And one may even win $1 billion.
You guys got a foosball table?
Check specially marked Pepsi products.
Hey, Matt. relax, great party. But won't you get caught?
No, I have them all the time.
How do you get away with it?
Tidy cats?
Ew. Actually, some of your friends are messy.
No, Tidy Cat's cat litter. It's formulated for multiple cat homes and a few extra cats they might not know about. They're home early. Everyone out! They'll never know.
Tidy cats. Multiple strength for multiple cats.
Where'd everybody go?
At CarQuest, our people go above and beyond the call of duty to help the technician working on your car by supplying them with superior service and only quality auto parts. Like NGK, a world leader in spark plug technology. NGK spark plugs are specified as original equipment by many leading engine manufacturers. They trust NGK, so should you. With nearly 4,000 stores and over 130,000 CarQuest parts to choose from. We'll be there when you need us. CarQuest, the professional choice.
This portion of Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is brought to you by the 4,000 CarQuest Auto Parts stores across America. You'll find it at CarQuest.
If a Cubs player hits a homer today, write down the distance and player's name and send it to WGN TV. You could win 2 round-trip tickets to any Southwest Airlines destination.
Well, just about everybody else in baseball thought Vinny Castilla might be done when Tampa Bay let him go. Well, he's shown here in a Braves uniform. He's got plenty of thump left. He's hit another home run against the Cubs tonight. That gives Greg Maddux a 3-run cushion heading to the 3rd inning with Baco, Mitre, and Tom Goodwin coming up.
Well, the only thing that gives you a little hope is it's not the same Greg Maddux that won 15 games a year for 15 consecutive years.
And if you can get into Atlanta's middle relief, you can do some damage. We saw that last night.
Well, Maddux has been real good lately. This is his 23rd start. He only has 1 complete game. But he's not going to walk himself into trouble. When you beat Greg Maddux, it's because you string together a lot of hits.
And as we know, that's real tough to do. He's only walked 23 men in 137 innings this year. And he's got Baco behind. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
The one thing that Greg Maddux knows, having witnessed up close and personal the game last night, they use Hodges, Holmes, King, and Hernandez. So they don't want to go back to that bullpen again, which was also used quite a bit in the sweep of the New York Mets before the Cubs came to town. So he knows he's got to put 6 or 7 up and then get it to some of the guys at the tail end of the pen.
Didn't get the call on the outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. You hear a lot of other pitchers around Major League Baseball complaining about Questec. I think this is one of the Questec ballparks. You don't hear Maddux say a word about it. Look, when I make my pitches, I'm getting people out. When I don't, I don't. Have to respect that. From the future Hall of Famer, Cal takes care of Baco, and Sergio Mitre will hit as a big leaguer for the first time here tonight. Go get him. It's Greg Maddux you're facing. 1 away.
Sergio getting his first opportunity, and you always have to feel you might as well swing hard in case you hit something. You only get 1 first major league at bat. Maybe the ball will be exactly where you swung.
Well, he was 3 for 17 down in Double-A with a home run. Maddux doesn't know much about him, quite obviously.
Well, you'll get a first ball fastball.
And he lines it into center field. First major league swing, first major league hit. Now see how easy it is for the rest of the starting 8. Pick one out and rip it. Congratulations.
Well, you figure a first ball fastball, you might as well take a swing at it, and he did, and hit it right on the nose into center field. There's the fastball, a little bit too much of the plate as far as Maddux is concerned. But Sergio, regardless of what he does, will be able to tell his children and grandchildren that his first major league at bat was a base hit against a guy that will be in the Hall of Fame 5 years after he retires, and that's Greg Maddux.
Who was your first hit against?
It was in my 2nd year.
Was it worth the wait?
It was delightful. Oh, yes, it was. Most things usually are. It was Pat Jarvis.
The sheriff.
The sheriff.
Yeah.
I don't know how they held me down that first year, but they did. I was 0 for 34.
You just hit an exceptionally bad luck.
Oh, well, yeah, it was deceiving. I didn't hit the ball that hard.
2-0 to Tom Goodwin, and this is what you'd love to see happen. You got the pitcher on. You've got Maddux in the stretch where he hasn't been much in this ball game. And then Grudzielanek, Sosa, and Alou coming up, where one swing of the bat gets you right back in the ball game.
It's a pretty good defensive outfield for the Braves. The best thrower is Sheffield. Andrew Jones has a plus center field arm. And in the infield, the one problem that Fick will have at first base is he doesn't throw to second particularly well. If Goodwin does pull it, it's going to be interesting to see how the throw goes. You can fake as much as you want to first, but if Fick isn't by the bag, that really shouldn't scare Sergio all that much.
2 balls and a strike. Goodwin puts a charge into that ball, rips it toward right center field. Nobody's getting that. That'll roll to the wall. Mitre stumbles a bit around second, and Wendell Kim puts up the stop sign. So they're at second and third with one out. Tom Goodwin hits a rocket to right. He's down on his belly. I hope he didn't turn an ankle.
Well, it looked like he's
dragging that left leg.
The footing is very bad here at this point. They've gotten a lot of rain. And unfortunately, Goodwin is down, and he looks like he's in a lot of pain.
I'm not sure if he's grabbing the front of his leg or the hamstring.
It looks like the left ankle to me, and we'll take another look at it certainly, but he hit that ball awfully hard. You don't expect Goodwin to show that much power, and he was able to do it and hit it over the head of Sheffield and get it by Andrew Jones, which is a good trick.
And that's exactly what the Cubs did not want to see happen. The way Goodwin was swinging the bat, he was giving this club a huge spark at the top of the batting order with his speed, and it allowed Dusty to play a very aggressive style of offensive baseball.
Well, they're going to take him out, so quite obviously Dusty very concerned, and Trinidad Hubbard will come into the game.
So Goodwin limps off. It is a double for Tom. Trinidad Hubbard takes over for him out at second base.
Maddux got that fastball out away from Goodwin, who hit it awfully hard. You don't figure a guy with just one home run is going to hit this ball that far, and that's why he got it between the outfielders. Sergio here, realizing it's going to fall, takes off, but then he has some problems with the footing. Wendell, with nobody out, holds him up. That's a wise choice, but unfortunately Goodwin comes up lame. And in the absence of Corey Patterson, the way Goodwin has played, he's gotten that batting average up over 290. This is just a terrible sight as far as the Cubs are concerned.
So now from 2 speed burners to 1, now to none for the Cubs. So it's a 3-0 ball game.
Braves are going to concede the run. They've got the infield back. You would think that Maddux would love to see, if there is a fly ball hit either to Jones or Sheffield. And I'm talking about Andrew Jones, because you've got a pitcher at third base, and those are the best arms in the outfield.
1 ball, no strikes. Back to the screen from Grudzielanek, who rolled out to short his first time up.
Mark knew that he got the pitch that time that he should have hit. That was a fastball. Maddux missed his spot, and unfortunately Mark fouled it straight back.
(3-0) Atlanta. Cubs threatening against Maddux, and that's off the plate. 2 balls and a strike. Of course, as soon as we get word on Tom's condition, we'll pass that along to you. We did not have a replay angle of where or how he injured himself, so we don't want to speculate, but it was a leg injury of some sort, and Hubbard stands at second base. Now you're in the driver's seat at the plate with Sosa waiting next. 3 balls, 1 strike.
normally Maddux in this situation throws the ball away. Let's see if Mark is looking out there with Sammy in the on-deck circle.
Mark thought that was off the plate.
Maddux is not going to use much of the plate. He has 17 inches. He probably pitches with the outside 2.
That might have been a little more than 2.
That was a little more than 2.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Mark, key man in the inning. Little pop behind first. Will that ball get down? Giles on the run, can't get it, and he kicks it to right field. 1 run scores. Here comes Hubbard to third. He'll stop there. And the Cubs are on the board. A big break. 3-1.
And that's a play Giles should have made. It was a long run, but he got there, and he was in a position to make the catch and just didn't do it. Well, the defense tonight has let down the Braves somewhat. You see him there. Not only does he miss the ball, then he boots it down the line. It does go as a base hit, putting runners at second and third. The Cubs now trailing just 3-1 for Sammy.
It scored a double and an RBI for Grudzielanek. Hubbard to third base. Still only 1 out. Now Sosa is the batter. I'm really surprised by that call. If nothing else, if Giles doesn't kick that ball into the corner, Mark might have to hold at first base. But we'll gladly take, as will Mark, that call. And a base hit could tie this game. And Sammy, thinking about a home run, had a great rip. Strike 1.
That was a high fastball just above the letters, and Sosa fouled it straight back. The signal that he's right on it, and Maddux will have to make an adjustment.
A fly ball, you figure, means a run, but with Jones and Sheffield in the outfield, it's not going to be easy to score. And that one popped up left side, twisting toward the seats. Castilla has no play, and Sosa down, strike 2.
Well, this is normally where Maddux will try to get Sammy out of the strike zone. That's why you look for anything in the dirt. That's why for Trinidad Hubbard, he's got to take a good secondary lead. You know Castilla is going to be way back at third, so you don't worry about the pickoff, although Blanco throws very well. Maddux does have just the 2 wild pitches, and Blanco usually smothers anything.
3-1, Atlanta the lead. Cubs with a big chance here in the third. 2 on, 1 out.
Now, it's not Greg's strength, but when he's way ahead, that base high fastball is something he will use occasionally. Amazingly enough, they play Sammy as an opposite field hitter.
1-2. Even that one too liberal for Scott Nelson to call. That's not even close. I mean, he's hitting the glove, but Maddux wants every call, and he's accustomed to getting it.
Well, that's the same call that Grudzielanek saw go the other way. But Sammy's right not to go out there because that ball is off the plate. The whole ball was off the plate.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Hubbard at third, Grudzielanek at second. And Sosa, a good battle here in the third inning. This all started with Sergio Mitre lining a single into right center field. His first major league swing turned into his first major league hit. And he has scored the first Cub run of the night. Cubs making Maddux work here in this third inning. 2-2. Ground ball toward first. Fick gloves it. A run will score. It's a 3-2 game. Sammy went the other way, nearly got it past the Atlanta first baseman. He drives home Hubbard, and Maddux's lead trimmed now to 1 with Grudzielanek at third with 2 out.
The pitch is perfect as far as Maddux is concerned, and Sammy does the right thing. He goes that way with the infield back and conceding the run to stay out of the big inning. You get the Cubs within 1.
So Sammy made some contact. They were giving up a run. If he did that, Sosa did his job. And now let's see if Alou can come up with a big 2-out hit. With 2 outs and runners in scoring position, Alu's done a pretty good job hitting .265 this season. The Cubs as a team, .211.
The Braves as a team, .300 in that same category.
That's remarkable. And Alu keeps spilling the ball off that foot. He's going to need some armor all.
It's also going to limit the amount of infield hits he can consider. As he checks the shin guard. And the shin guard doesn't help you very much if you hit it off your instep. And that's exactly what he's done a couple of times tonight. It's been a pretty good inning for the Cubs, but it cost them Tom Goodwin. And that's something that they can ill afford.
1 ball, 1 strike. High and away with Eric Karros waiting next. You talked earlier about the way to beat Maddux. Or he's not going to beat himself. You have to string together hits. The Cubs have 3 of them in a row. 2 runs have scored. And they're down only a run now at 3-2. Two and two.
So far, Greg has changed speeds on the breaking ball. He doesn't have the great stuff anymore. I think he would be the first to tell you that he has to adjust on a nightly basis. This guy's at 2 ends of the spectrum. One young man in his first major league start, the other headed to Cooperstown. It just depends on when he wants to take off the uniform. But 15 years with 15 wins or more, only Cy Young was able to do that. Gives you some sort of an idea about just how good he's been.
That's why I say they might want to rename it the Young Maddux Johnson Award before they're all done. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Moises. In the dirt, good stop by Blanco. That saved a run. Count runs full with Karros again on deck. Cubs have battered the Braves pitching staff. They're hitting them at a .344 clip so far this season. Now Atlanta's won 3 of the first 5 meetings played. The Cubs, due in large part to that huge night last night, have more than held their own against this vaunted Atlanta staff.
The vaunted staff is well down there this year. I mean, it's most unbrave-like. They're 9th in the league in pitching.
3 and 2. A little fly ball left center field. Andrew Jones gliding with the glove up. You know that's trouble. And he makes the grab to retire the side. A very good but very costly inning for the Cubs. Tom Goodwin is hurt. 2 runs come in. 1-run game here in Atlanta.
Hey, Bobby. Well, I would rent a car for 2 weeks. Yeah.
Why not get right to the good part? Like Southwest Airlines Rapid Rewards. Forget counting miles. Fly just 4 round trips and get 1 free by receiving double credit when you book at southwest.com.
You're now free to move about the country.
She's dark green, cashback, low intro, and end of the month. He's yellow, travel, everyday rate, and middle of the month. She's purple, travel, low intro, and beginning of the month. Bank One's Personal Platinum, the simple way to choose your rate, your reward, your billing date, even your color. Bank One's Personal Platinum, issued by us, but created by you. Individual answers. Bank One.
You taking that for heartburn?
Panel of experts recommend it.
More doctors recommend Tums. Dose for dose, Tums Ultra neutralizes more acid than Pepsi completes antacid. Nothing's faster. Just ask a real panel of experts.
Designing an all-season tire to outperform performance tires wasn't rocket science. Then again, maybe it was. Pilot Sport AS. Our most advanced C-rated tire ever. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
Chill out, cash in. Buy 4 Michelin tires and get a $50 rebate. See your Michelin dealer. Offer ends July 31st.
Best way to clean teeth? The dentist. What do thousands use? Same thing Arm & Hammer Complete Care does. Dental baking soda. Deep clean stains regular toothpaste can't reach. Cleans, whitens, freshens. Try new Complete Care. Your whole mouth will feel fresh from the dentist clean.
Skip Ellison and Eric Welch manning the controls in our WGN production truck here in Atlanta. It's the Braves 3, Cubs 2, heading to the bottom of the third inning.
Trinidad Hubbard stays in the game in center field, and now it's up to Sergio Mitre to hold down the Braves. Something it's not easy to do once you've given up a few runs early. Veteran pitchers can do it. Guys who have been around in the major leagues for a while can do it. We'll see if this young man in his first major league start going through the middle of the order can get it done.
Giles got the first hit he allowed. A base hit up the middle, and that one good enough for Steve Reich 1. Interesting note on the Braves. They faced 5 guys making their major league debuts this year, and the rookies have beaten them 4 times. Cubs are hoping that form follows function here tonight. A high fastball, and Giles rips that up the middle. So he's 2 for 2. And he doubles his hit total against the Cubs in seasonal play here tonight.
This fastball up and out of the zone. Normally not a particularly good pitch to hit, but Giles able to get over the top of it and line a base hit.
When we last saw Giles before this series, Steve, that was the Mark Pryor collision with Giles back in Chicago, and very good news regarding Mark Pryor tonight. As Sheffield takes a ball inside. Talking with Cubs general manager Jim Hendry, they said the MRI taken today came back clean. Nothing structurally damaged at all with Mark Pryor, just an issue of soreness. They'll get the full details from Cubs team doctor Michael Schaefer tomorrow. And Mark, of course, is going to miss 1 turn through the rotation, and it's only a matter of time as to when he will take his normal turn, and a minor league rehab start is not out of the question.
He's able to come back on the 27th of July. Let's hope he's healthy enough to do that, and it's just a question of soreness.
A sinking strike to Sheffield. 1 ball, 1 strike. I mean, everybody who follows not just the Cubs but Major League Baseball had to gasp when they saw that collision up at Wrigley Field. And thankfully neither Giles nor Pryor apparently hurt seriously on the play.
Well, you also breathe a sigh of relief when you see a clean MRI.
Ground ball through the whole left side. 2 men on for Atlanta. Big turn at second. Alu kicks the ball. The throw comes into third. Close play. Giles in safely.
It's going to be a base hit and an error on Moises, because Giles had settled at second and was content to stay there. So Moises will pick up his 5th error, and the Braves have runners at the corners. And when Moises comes in, Giles had stopped at second, then he accelerates, beats the play, and so the Cubs now, with Chipper Jones, if they can, will trade the run for the double play and try to stay out of the big inning. They're about halfway in the middle, and left-handed Chipper Jones is a huge RBI force.
In fact, he had one in the Atlanta first. A fly ball hit right at Tom Goodwin. He came in a step. By the time he figured out the trajectory, the ball was over his head for a 2-out RBI double.
It's not going to get over the head of Trinidad Hubbard unless it goes out of the ballpark, because Trinidad, with 400 feet to straightaway center, is out there about 380.
Max Jones off the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Chipper was the first player picked in the country when a lot of folks thought that should have been Todd Van Poppel. He said he wasn't going to sign with the Braves, pick somebody else. They picked a good one. Now, if you listen to the Braves side of that particular story, Chippy, they say that Chipper was the man they wanted all the way along, and it could very well be. It did turn into gold for them.
Does, however, seem to contradict what has been their draft philosophy for a lot of years, and that is drafting big, strong high school pitchers. 3 straight Atlanta hits makes it a 4-2 game. And the second time through the order not going particularly well for the Cubs rookie right-hander Sergio Mitre tonight.
Well, the most difficult thing in the world to do is shut off an offense once they get heated up, and it takes a veteran pitcher to do that. Unfortunately, Sergio tonight saw a little offense from the second best offensive team in the league, and now he's been unable to shut him down going through the order. This ball out away from Chipper Jones, and he drives it into right field. And so the Braves have regained a 2-run lead. They've out-hit the Cubs 6-4, but still a long way to go in this one against a pitcher who has been vulnerable this year, and that's Greg Maddux.
So 60 RBIs for Jones on the year, and that'll bring up Andrew Jones, who grounded out his first time up. And the Cubs looking for a double play ball here to minimize the damage. 4 runs, 6 hits for the Braves.
Remember last night with Estes going just 3 innings, it was Veers, Alfonseca, Farnsworth, Remlinger, and Borowski. So Dusty emptied out the bullpen last night. And I would assume everybody is ready and able tonight, but he doesn't want to see his youngster exit this game in the 3rd.
Another hit. That's 4 in a row. Sheffield rounds 3rd. They'll wave him on Alou. Moe's throw cut off. It's 5-2.
I would think at this point that Larry Rothschild and Dusty will have somebody up in that pen as the Braves continue to pound away at Sergio Mitre.
And one thing about this Atlanta offense, and we've talked about it a lot, not only do they mash mistakes, they hit good pitches too.
Well, you can't make any mistakes to them. And Sergio has gotten the ball over the plate. The only walk was to Fix, so he hasn't been intimidated. He's not throwing the ball out of the zone. It's just that he's facing one of the best offenses in baseball.
5 singles, a double, and a homer. Makes it 5-2. Atlanta the lead. There's nobody out. Fick looks at the ball away. 1-0 your count.
The Braves are 34-14 here in Atlanta. That's one of the best records in baseball at home. In fact, it's more wins at home than anybody else in the game.
Another hit. This is amazing. 5 straight. They're hitting him to left. They're hitting him to right. Again, they run on Alou. This time the ball gets to the plate, but too late. Chipper Jones scores.
Well, I assume now they'll get somebody up in the pen. And Larry Rothschild is making the call. It's pretty much a good news, bad news thing for Sergio Mitre. The good news was he was coming to the major leagues and getting a start. The bad news was that start was in Atlanta against a team this year that is an offensive machine. Robert Fick takes the ball the other way. 5 straight singles, and the Braves have a 4-run lead. They could certainly use a ground ball off the bat of Castilla and turn it into 2.
5 straight hits to open up the 3rd inning. Here's Castilla. He hit a 2-strike home run deep to left center, his first and only time up. No swing, no advance. Ball 1 to Vinny Castilla.
Paul Bacco going to the mound. He might have been crossed up with that. So he wants to talk to him about getting the signal straightened out. Last thing you want to do is take yourself out of a double play situation here by throwing anything in the dirt and allowing the base runners to advance. Let's take a look at the last breaking ball. I think that Bacco was crossed up. I think he was looking for a fastball, and he got what Sergio calls his slider. Actually a little bigger than most sliders. It might fall into the curveball range, but he says he doesn't throw one.
Little tapper back to the mound, slowly hit, only 1 play. And Castilla's retired. Jones to 3rd, Fick to 2nd, and Blanco to hit.
The pitcher's depending on his catcher there because the play's in back of him, and all he is listening for is Paul Bacco and what he wants him to do with it. There was no chance at 3rd or 2nd. And Bacco, I'm sure, yelling first all the way. Castilla taps it in front of the plate. And with the play behind him, and you see Bacco right there just yelling first. He got it done. Now you move the infield in at all 4 positions.
The Cub bullpen is busy as Henry Blanco digs in. He popped out his first time up. Infield comes in for the Cubs. They've seen the Braves tally 3 more in the 3rd.
Dave Veers, who was the winner and perhaps the MVP of the game last night, throwing again tonight. When you bring the infield in at all 4 positions, you've got to keep the ball down because you need a ground ball. The outfield real deep all the way around.
2 balls, no strikes.
Sergio has a world of friends watching him tonight from San Diego. He went to junior college there before signing with the Chicago Cubs, and they think that he has a bright future.
And now they won't even mess around. They'll go ahead and walk Blanco, load him up for Maddux, and set up a double play chance.
Maddux is a pretty good hitter, always has been. This year he's not been a great hitter for average. And normally if he gets a hit or makes contact, you figure it would be to right or right center field.
Well, Atlanta, a 300 hitting team, as Steve mentioned, with runners in scoring position. They've had a bunch of them at second or third in this inning.
It's really astounding when you consider how far we are into the season that the Braves have still been able to have that kind of a lofty average in the key situations.
Good breaking ball. Maddux fly to center in the second inning. He's got a big 4-run lead. Tom Goodwin injured in the top of this inning. Legging out a double. And I think it might have been a hamstring for Tom.
Well, we'll wait until we get some word from the Cubs locker room, and we'll tell you what exactly it was for Goodwin. Sergio could use the first strikeout of his career right here.
And here is the aforementioned Goodwin play. Our Patriots at TBS had an angle on Goodwin as he left the box.
And I think you're right, Chip. It looked like he grabbed the hamstring. One of the things on the play, he probably didn't think it was going to fall because he wasn't running out of the box. Then when he saw it fall, he turned it on.
Maddux makes contact and hits that deep to center. Trinidad Hubbard has a little trouble. Now he drifts back and makes the grab. Runners at second and third tag and score. Andrew Jones comes home. Fick to third. Blanco at first. Greg Maddux has his second RBI. And now a 5-run lead.
That's one of the ways you win baseball games, is in a situation where you need a fly ball, you wait till you get something up in the zone and then you hit it. And Maddux able to drive home the run. Hubbard drifting with this one, and Maddux hit it a long way.
So here's Furcal, the 9th man coming up for the Braves. He is 0 for 2. He and Blanco among regular players, the only 2 without a hit so far, and we're only in the 3rd inning. Shades of last night for the Cubs offense.
Well, Furcal has been a much better hitter this year from the left side. Hitting just under 280 overall, hitting 288 as a left-hand hitter coming in. I think the surprising thing about him, you see 13 home runs. This is a guy who hit 8 home runs all of last year. And there you see the disparity between Rafael as a right-hand hitter and Rafael as a left-hand hitter.
A high fly ball center field, pretty deep. Hubbard back to the edge of the warning track, and Furcal flies out to retire the side. Big inning for the Braves. 4 runs on 5 singles and a sac fly. They lead it 7-2.
Well, I had a really nice time tonight.
Me too.
Well, I guess it's getting late.
Yeah, it's getting late. Yeah, it's getting so dark.
See ya.
Call me?
Suarez, I have some good news. I'm taking you out.
Oh, you said you had good news.
I do. I just saved a bunch of money on my car insurance by switching to Geico. Give me the ball.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
There's a new name.
Sharon? Sharon!
In daytime. The Sharon Osbourne Show premieres September 15th.
I just love that man.
Coming this fall on Superstation WGN.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Chicago Cubs and may not be reproduced nor retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Chicago Cubs.
Beautiful sunset brewing in the heart of Dixie. Atlanta, Georgia, 7-2. Atlanta's offense in high gear tonight. They've tallied 8 hits against Sergio Mitre, making his big league debut this evening. And into the fourth we go with Eric Karros, Lenny Harris, and Alex Gonzalez.
I'd like to send along best wishes to the portly detective, Don Vogel, looking on in Phoenix, Arizona, as is Dr. Gerald Becker, rooting for a big Cub comeback. And they're going to need it, down 5 to Maddux, who lifetime is 10-3 against the team that brought him to the major leagues.
Eric Karros, a base hit to right his first time up. And that ball biting in on his hands is dumped into shallow center. One man down. Lenny Harris tapped back to the mound.
They're calling it a strain for Tom Goodwin, so I'm sure that they want to see what happens with it in the coming days. That's a big loss. He was hitting everything in sight. And with a 5-hit night last night and 1 for 2 tonight, with all the speed he gives to the Cubs, you hate to see him go down for any length of time.
The worst thing about hamstrings, the only way they completely heal is completely to rest them. And
they can linger. I mean, they can keep on coming back. So the Cubs have lost their running game.
Fly ball, foul by Lenny Harris, out of play.
And it's not that they were going to run themselves into a whole lot of wins, but defensively, whether it's Goodwin or Patterson in center field, they make Alou and Sosa better because they can cover so much ground.
2-1 pitch to Lenny. 2-2 now.
Also left-handed bats in a right-handed dominated lineup. So in the place you were the thinnest, with the people you could ill afford to lose, the Cubs now have lost 2 of them, and I'm sure that Goodwin not hurt near as seriously as Corey was. But any injury is big right now.
Sharply hit to short, and that's off the leg of Furcal. That should be his 23rd error. That ball was hit right to him.
And they're not helping Maddux very much with the defense tonight. So it should be 2 up and 2 down. Instead, Rafael Furcal let that ball play him. And the Cubs do have a chance to score here in the 4th.
Alex hit a line drive to right. Back in the 2nd inning. 7-2, Atlanta the lead.
Somewhat amazing for a team that's been built on pitching and defense low these many years. The Braves 4 spots worse than the Cubs in pitching and 3 spots worse than the Cubs in defense, and yet they have baseball's best record.
Well, while the fans in Los Angeles might argue they might have baseball's best closer, and they have one of baseball's best offenses, which helps you overcome any mistakes you make in middle relief or defensively.
Vinny Castilla hasn't exactly been a one-man gang against the Cubs, but he's been close to it. And you're right about John Smoltz. When he gets the ball in a save situation, it's game over. Of course, Eric Gagne would say the same thing. The problem with Los Angeles, they haven't scored enough runs at this point to make a big difference, and they're 10.5 back of San Francisco. Arizona falling out of touch. They're 8 games back of San Francisco, and it looks, even with a decimated pitching staff, like it's all Giants in the West.
Yeah, they've got Kurt Schilling going tonight. Giants pounded him back on the 12th of July. Damian Moss goes for San Francisco. Arizona's lost 3 in a row and 6 of their last 9 after a very hot stretch that saw them go 21-7 without Johnson and Schilling.
Well, with the Giants winners of 5 in a row, both Arizona and Los Angeles have lost 3 in a row. With San Francisco gaining ground, and you figure the best shot for Arizona or Los Angeles or a number of other teams, including Philadelphia, is the wild card.
Huge jump at first and a high hopper toward third. Cubs will stay out of the double play. Gonzalez rolls out. Lenny at second for Paul Bacco now.
That's the one thing that Maddux has always given you, and that's the stolen base. Cubs taking advantage of it. And a real good jump. So no thought of 2. There wouldn't have been 2 anyway, but now you have a man in scoring position. And Bacco has always hit Maddux real well.
.333 lifetime average in 12 at-bats entering play tonight. And Paul 0 for 1. He grounded out leading off the 2-run Cub third. Strike 1 to Bacco. Cubs are home tomorrow. Remember, a 6 o'clock start in Chicago. That's 1 hour earlier to accommodate national television. Matt Clement and Randy Wolf will hook up against the Phillies. Frank Sinatra Jr. to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," I believe. Then Thursday, back here on WGN at 1 o'clock, Kerry Wood and Vicente Padilla will hook up. Shania Twain will be the 7th inning stretch guest conductor, and Hall of Famer Harry Callis will join us for an inning's worth of play-by-play. That'll be in the 6th inning of the 2nd game of that series. So always a treat to chat with one of the most distinctive personalities in our sport, Harry Callis. Nothing happening for the Cubs in the 4th inning. Greg Maddux a big lead, 7-2.
The BMW 5 Series has changed very little since its introduction in 1997. And with good reason. Because over the last 7 years, it's won more awards and accolades than any other car in its class. Begging the question, what could possibly be changed to improve it? The least price. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Mosquitoes love me. Ah, the common mosquito. 2,700 species worldwide. Top speed, 1.5 miles an hour. You're smart. I'm not smart, but dialing 1010-220, that's smart.
No monthly fees, no commitments. Just dial 1010-220.
Now that's smart.
Best way to clean teeth? The dentist. What do thousands use? Same thing Arm & Hammer Complete Care does. Dental baking soda. Deep clean stains regular toothpaste can't reach. Cleans, whitens, freshens. Try new Complete Care. Your whole mouth will feel fresh from the dentist clean.
At Michelin, each tire goes through a series of rigorous tests, including a thorough hand inspection. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
Chill out, cash in. Buy 4 Michelin tires and get a $50 rebate. See your Michelin dealer. Offer ends July 31st.
The first major advance for the fastest treatment of athlete's foot is Lamisil AT. Lamisil AT is the first non-prescription medicine proven to kill the fungus with just 1 week's use. Not even a prescription can beat that. Lotrimin AF and Tinactin still expect you to treat for 4 weeks. Who's going to do that? When your feet itch and burn, using Lamisil AT 1 week keeps you athlete's foot free 3 months. Lamisil AT. There's no better way to cure athlete's foot.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is brought to you by Budweiser. The best things in life are the things that are true. Budweiser. Steve Stone, Chip Caray from Turner Field in Atlanta. 7-2. Braves lead it in their half of inning number 4 tonight. And back to the hill goes Sergio Mitre. This is one of those classic cases of kid, take one for the team. The bullpen got used a lot last night.
And Dusty Baker knows that without an off day, there's some pretty tough offenses to deal with Philadelphia for 2 and then Houston for 3 games in Houston before you have the off day.
Giles has been a Cub tormentor tonight. He's 2 for 2 and has scored both times. Then Sheffield, then Chipper, then Andrew Jones. Ball 2 outside. They're in the 8th inning now in Pittsburgh. Astros still lead the Pirates 2-0. Milwaukee over the Reds 4-2 in the 6th. High fly ball left center field. Hubbard going back, and he misplaced that ball. That'll bounce off the rubber warning track and bounce into the seats. Interesting scoring decision here.
Well, they'll give him a double, and Trinidad just lost it. And they do.
So for Jim Hendry, just when you think you have one problem solved, another player goes down in Tom Goodwin. You don't know how long that hamstring problem is going to be a problem. Do you need to go out and find a center fielder again?
Depending on the health of Tom Goodwin, I don't know how long he's going to be out. If he's out for any length of time, the answer is yes.
Late breaking ball. Sheffield took it inside.
If he's not, you have some other pressing needs. We'd like to send along our condolences, along with the Cubs, to Cheryl Ray and her family on the death of her father, Milan Gaspar.
Mitre missing inside with a couple of breaking balls to Sheffield. Sergio, look alive. 2-0. Missed inside again. Ball 3. Trading deadline, by the way, without waivers, 9 days away from today. And the tale quite possibly could be told for the Cubs by then. When you look at who they will be playing, the Phillies, the Astros this coming weekend, then home for a big 3-game set with the very talented San Francisco Giants.
And they are a talented team.
3-1 to Sheffield. And inside again, 2 men on with nobody out. And the 4th inning looking an awful lot like the way the 3rd inning started. And another visit from Larry Rothschild.
Well, unfortunately, in Pittsburgh, with the Houston Astros where they are in the game, that plays right into their strength. They've already probably gotten by Lidge, so you get to Dotel and Wagner, and normally when that's the case with the Astros, and the reason why they're in first place is that their bullpen normally is close to unhittable. Now, they've had a real tough time on the road. 5 games under 500. They've dominated at home, but they do have the lead, and the Cubs now become avid scoreboard watchers. The board here tonight tells them they're down 5, and Mark Guthrie starting to heat it up.
And the Phillies are in Chicago Wednesday and Thursday, and on Thursday afternoon, Barbie's back. If you're one of the first 5,000 girls 13 and under, you'll receive the USA debut of the Mattel Chic Barbie doll, courtesy of Pepsi and Navy Pier. The Cubs and Phillies hook up at 1:20, and there are some great tickets available Come on out and see the Cubs take on Jim Thome and the Philadelphia Phillies and get a Barbie to boot. Chipper Jones rolls that ball. Double play opportunity. One there. Good glide across the bag by Alex. And Giles to third with 2 out.
Pretty good pitch for a guy that already had a couple of hits and a couple of runs batted in. The Cubs need some innings out of Mitre tonight, and they've got to save that bullpen. So this is a good fastball running away from Chipper Jones, and when you try to pull it, you usually ground to the right side. After that, the Cubs double play combination, which has been very good this year, turns an easy pair.
Andrew Jones, an RBI single last time up. It's 7-2. And he couldn't stop himself. He wants the appeal, and the first base umpire, Jim Joy, says, if you ask me, I'll give you the same answer. You swung.
Once the home plate umpire has called it, the appellate process is over.
He's open for a hung jury, Steve.
He's lucky he didn't come up with a back problem. Maybe about 10 years from now he will on a check swing very similar to that.
1 strike to Jones. Hot shot past third. That'll be in for extra bases. Giles scores easily. Andrew Jones glides into second with his 17th double.
When talking with Terry Pendleton about Andrew Jones, I said, is this as good as he's going to get? Are we seeing the finished product? A guy who's going to hit 35 or 40 home runs and a guy who is going to be hitting in 290, 295. He goes, no. He said when he learns to be a little more patient, to work pitchers to get his counts, he goes, he's going to be even better than he is right now. And that's going to be it for Sergio. He will leave the game. A tough assignment for the young man. And he came up a little short tonight. You'll see him again, however. And the Cubs are hoping it's in the not too distant future. So a very exciting night for Mitre and his family and all of his friends in San Diego. Didn't work out as well as he would have hoped.
But he ran into the best team in baseball tonight, and they were anxious to avenge a big Cub victory last night. 8-2, Atlanta has the lead. Sergio Mitre, a big leaguer for a night, and we'll tell you who the new Cub pitcher will be right after this.
When you hit the brakes, a whole lot of things have to go just right. It's the same with brake repair. That's why you can count on Midas, America's trusted leader in brakes. Right now, get $20 instant savings on any brake service from Midas. Even on Midas's famous lifetime brake pads and shoes. The last set of pads or shoes you'll ever buy. That's $20 instant savings right now from the auto service experts, Midas.
It began as a top-secret genetic experiment.
Transforming the world a gene at a time. What the hell were you people up to?
An experiment gone horribly wrong.
There may be a whole slew of mutants that we know nothing about.
Involving shadowy forces with dark agendas. Standing in the breach, the mutants of Mutant X.
Those guys get on my nerves. Should we kick some ass?
She definitely has some good moves.
But this is going to hurt. A lot. Mutant X. An elite corps of genetically altered humans. Endowed with awesome abilities. Each week, they fight to protect a world that doesn't even know they exist.
What about the rumors that this research might have created people with superhuman abilities and powers?
Rumors? Sundays at 7 Eastern on WGN Superstation.
8-2, Atlanta has the lead. They've got a man on with 2 men out. Before we tell you who the new Cub pitcher will be, let's pause for station identification.
You're watching the home to 100 American and National League games all season long. Superstation WGN.
Mark Guthrie is the second pitcher of the night. And he will face Robert Fick here in the Atlanta 4th inning.
He's on for the 37th time, the ERA at 2.35, and Mark has had a very good run at it out of the pen. He inherits a base runner at second base. Sergio Mitre went 3 2/3 innings, gave up 10 hits. He is responsible for 8 runs and Andrew Jones out at second base as Guthrie comes in and tries to hold the Braves right there.
Robert Fick has to be dancing in the streets. He is a man who escaped Detroit and now finds himself on a team that's primed for yet another run at the World Series here in Atlanta.
John Scherholz doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. That's one of the reasons why they have 11 straight division titles. And when he went and got what he felt was going to be a left-hand hitting difference maker, that's exactly what Fick turned into. And he's been a very good player for the Braves. Everybody was very concerned about where he would play because quite obviously in Detroit he didn't show the best glove. But all in all, he's been a pretty good first baseman, and the platoon system has been very good. And you had a look at John Scherholz. He's been one of the best there is for a very long time in this game.
Well, to put it into perspective, Fick came into this season with 101 career games behind the plate, 148 career games in the outfield, and only 61 career games at first base.
And I'm sure he was a DH more than a time or two for Detroit, but they had to find some place to play him. And this free agent signing has turned into gold. Look at those numbers.
Three balls and a strike.
And you're seeing the kind of at-bats that he's had all year, and that's one of the reasons why he impresses the Braves. He works counts, doesn't swing at anything out of the zone. He drew the walk ahead of the two-run homer by Castilla in the second inning, and he's ahead of Guthrie. 3-1 where the lefty-lefty advantage evens out.
Bookend doubles by Atlanta in the fourth inning. And a high towering fly ball to left center field. Trinidad Hubbard and Alou converge, and they nearly collide as Alou takes over and makes the play. Guthrie retires the side, but Atlanta leads at 8-2.
Ooh, you're a naughty little boy, aren't you? Keep it up, and I'm gonna give you a spanking. I'll teach you the meaning of respect. You're not getting any of my Bud Light. Do you hear me? No kisses for you. Not till you learn to obey me. Now, get down on all fours.
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down. Make it a Bud Light.
When you hit the brakes, a whole lot of things have to go just right. It's the same with brake repair. That's why you can count on Midas, America's trusted leader in brakes. Right now, get $20 instant savings on any brake service from Midas. Even on Midas's famous lifetime brake pads and shoes. The last set of pads or shoes you'll ever buy. That's $20 instant savings right now from the auto service experts, Midas.
Everyone craves a Big Mac, even pirates. Introducing Disney's new movie, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese.
So come to McDonald's before the pirates take them all.
We're number one, y'all. We're having fun, y'all. We're number one.
They fight to protect a world that doesn't even know they exist. Mutant X.
Sundays at 7 Eastern on WGN Superstation. Jim Roddenberry's Andromeda. Sundays at 8 Eastern on WGN.
Cubs fans, use your MasterCard at a participating Sears store from July 20th to August 2nd. You'll automatically be entered for a chance to win a day of fun at Wrigley Field and a chance to see the Cubs on the road next season. Sears, good life, great price. There's no purchase necessary to enter or win. Sweepstakes ends on August 2nd, 2003. You must be a legal resident of Illinois or Indiana, 18 years of age or older. See participating Chicagoland Sears stores for official rules and details. It's void where prohibited. Guthrie will hit for himself here. We are only in the top of the fifth inning, yet Atlanta leads at 8-2.
I would think this particular matchup would favor Greg Maddux. Mark Guthrie getting his first at bat of the year.
Do relief pitchers like Guthrie have their own bats, or do they have to rely on their teammates? Is there, in other words, a Mark Guthrie model?
There can be. There probably isn't.
And that's why. 1 out. Maddux strikes out his first man tonight. Tough assignment for Mark.
Trinidad Hubbard getting his first at bat of the evening.
I think he's using the Damian Miller model. It's like a number 27 on the knob there. One away for Trinidad Hubbard. Trinidad came on in the third inning after Tom Goodwin doubled and apparently strained his hamstring. That's the initial diagnosis. So Trinidad hoping for another run of good luck. Remember, he played very well down in Florida. Robert Fick, good scoop, good play. Goodbye Trinidad. 2 down.
I talked with the Hall of Famer Don Sutton to get a defensive scouting report on Robert Fick, and he said he's not going to remind you of Keith Hernandez anytime soon, or Mark Grace, or any of the Gold Glovers, but he'll put his face in front of the ball to stop it. He said he'll get down on all fours if need be. He says he's a tough guy who's trying to learn how to play a difficult position, and it's not artistic, but it is effective.
Mark Rudzelanek, an RBI double here tonight. Houston goes to the ninth, leading in Pittsburgh 2-0. Houston 10-5 in their last 15 games.
And Jason Kendall has a 23-game hitting streak on the line. So
see if he's continued that tonight.
That's a pretty good streak.
The only 5 losses, by the way, for Houston came from the Pirates during that stretch. That's one of the oddities.
I was going to say, somewhat amazing where one team would have your number. Look at Cincinnati with St. Louis.
Milwaukee and the Cubs a couple of years ago. Ground ball to third. Maddux starting to pile those up. And it's 3 quick outs for the Cubs in inning number 5. Getaway day in Atlanta, and Maddux has a big lead.
The country.
Imagine cruising in your brand new Kia Spectra. You got the tunes cranked, the controls at your fingertips, and cash in your pocket. And with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, you're not worried about a thing. Just driving and taking in that new car smell. You know, the real kind. Not that stuff that comes in a bottle. The Kia Spectra, loaded with features for thousands less than a Civic. Imagine that. Now get the Kia Spectra starting at $8,235 after $4,000 cash back.
Mosquitoes love me.
The common mosquito. 2,700 species worldwide. Top speed, 1.5 miles an hour. You're smart. I'm not smart, but dialing 10-10-220, that's smart.
No monthly fees, no commitments. Just dial 10-10-220.
Now that's smart.
Best way to clean teeth? The dentist. What do thousands use? Same thing Arm & Hammer Complete Care does. Dental baking soda. Deep clean stains regular toothpaste can't reach. Cleans, whitens, freshens. Try new Complete Care. Your whole mouth will feel fresh from the dentist clean.
You know what? We think it should be easy to get great technology that all goes together. That's why inside Gateway, we're introducing our easy-to-use, easy-to-set-up, all-in-one home theater system. It's space-savingly sleek and includes a DVD player receiver that makes it compatible with your life and every CD and DVD in it. The best part? It all starts at just $4.99 and is available with no payments, no interest till 2004. Come into your Gateway store and experience it today. Or call 1-800-GATEWAY for the latest in home theater technology. Only from Gateway.
Since the 4th of July, the Atlanta Braves and Chicago Cubs have provided the most fireworks offensively as we look at our Illinois Lottery fun fact this evening. Steve?
And that's fun.
And that's a fact.
Now that's a good sign. Texas fan and a Florida fan, and a very creative sign.
And Eric Welch, our eagle-eyed producer downstairs, spotting all the Cub fans here tonight. Notice the graphics are looking exceptionally correct tonight. That's because Eric is in charge downstairs this evening. Vinny Castilla looks at a ball low, 2-0 your count.
Early in the season, a few folks here in Atlanta were saying it's time to bench Vinny.
Cubs fans wish they had.
He's had a resurgence.
Well, he can beat you in a couple of different ways. We've seen how he can just crush the baseball. But one of the best defensive third basemen as well. Very accurate arm. Knows where to play. Positions himself well.
Don't forget another factor about knowing where to play, Chip. They have a defensive scheme, and they've got some pitchers who can throw the ball consistently to that scheme. And that's one of the reasons why, if he plays toward the line, you figure the guy's going to pull the ball.
And we saw that earlier in the game. That ball pulled to short. Alex scoops it up.
Swing it.
And Castilla's out number 1 here in the Braves half of the 5th inning. Henry Blanco, the catcher, will bat. He's popped out and walked tonight.
The reason why Blanco is the personal catcher for Greg Maddux is not necessarily what he will do offensively or even what he'll do blocking pitches. Greg Maddux wants the ball back to him as soon as you catch it. And he wants to work very quickly, and he believes that Blanco will be able to do that. It was Eddie Perez before him. And all Maddux says is get me the ball back as quickly as you can, and I'll do the rest.
1 ball, no strikes. Still in the 9th inning are the Astros leading in Pittsburgh. Couple of notes in that game. Jason Kendall with that long hit streak tonight. It's on the line at 23 straight games. He's 0 for 3 for Pittsburgh. And Jeremy Robertson pitching for the Astros, going for his 6th straight win. He's unbeaten in his last 14 starts, and barring any off days, we should see Robertson on getaway day down in Houston. So he's been awfully tough. 2 balls and a strike.
Houston's pitching staff has been one of the reasons why they haven't pulled away yet. They have a real good bullpen at the end. They've been suspect at the beginning of the bullpen and the tail end of the rotation. But they're starting to heat it up at the right time as far as they're concerned.
That ball ticketed toward left field. And Blanco's on. That's 11 Braves hits. Something else about that Houston team. Richard Hidalgo, who we didn't see early in the season, is back, and he's hitting everything in sight.
It's kind of interesting with Hidalgo, who's out of Venezuela, along with Bobby Abreu. In fact, they chose Hidalgo of the 2, and he's got such a big contract. I think that trying to be able to live up to that has been difficult for him, but he's a guy with a world of talent, and he's just had a few problems. They entertained the idea of moving him. The contract would be problematic for them. I don't think Houston can take on any money, and I'm not sure how many people would take a contract that size. But Hidalgo's been a pretty good player, and he can play center or right.
That's popped up. But in play, Eric Karros will make the play. Maddux with the sacrifice, his 4th of the year. That'll move Blanco to second. 2 outs for Rafael Furcal. Cardinals later on tonight battle again in San Diego. They got a huge scare with Matt Morris taking that line drive off the hand on a Mark Kotsay shot. They say it's a bruised knuckle, but he's still day to day, and they cannot lose him.
Well, he was having some problems, a little weakness in the shoulder. We don't know exactly what it was nor how long he'll be out, but for the Cardinals, that's a big loss. And in fact, they're starting Jeff Fassero, 40 years old, taking down Garrett Stevenson out of that rotation.
Jeff hasn't started since the year 2000 when he was with the Red Sox.
You can see what kind of shape their rotation is in, and that's one of the reasons why St. Louis hasn't been able to mount much of a charge, despite the fact that they've got a Triple Crown candidate in Albert Pujols.
Cardinals have dominated the Padres. They've won 29 of the last 34 matchups since 1999. Last night, however, though, Padres beat them 5-4 in 10 innings. Our old pal Rod Beck, 10 for 10 in saves. That's amazing. Way to go, Shooter.
It is somewhat amazing when you look at the stuff and realize that Rod Beck does it on attitude. He goes out there with the idea that he's going to close down the game, Throws 82, 83, and gets it done.
2 balls and a strike. Wonder if he took the trailer with him. Those of you who didn't know the story, Rod, while he was at AAA with the Cubs, was living in a motorhome beyond the outfield fence in Des Moines.
Well, it's easy access to the ballpark. You certainly can't lose your way.
Ground ball to the shortstop with 2 outs. And that will do it for Atlanta. For Cal is 0 for 4. Atlanta has a big lead through 5 innings of play.
All right, where is it?
Where's what?
The 6-foot sub I bought for the party. I go get the Bud Light and now it's gone. Where is it?
I didn't touch your 6-foot sub.
Well then, who did?
Whoa!
Ooh, doggy.
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down.
Down, boy, down!
Make it a Bud Light.
The first major advance for the fastest treatment of athlete's foot is Lamisil AT. Lamisil AT is the first non-prescription medicine proven to kill the fungus with just 1 week's use. Not even a prescription can beat that. Lotrimin AF and Tinactin still expect you to treat for 4 weeks. Who's going to do that? When your feet itch and burn, using Lamisil AT 1 week keeps you athlete's foot free 3 months. Lamisil AT. There's no better way to cure athlete's foot.
You taking that for heartburn?
Panel of experts recommend it.
More doctors recommend Tums. Dose for dose, Tums Ultra neutralizes more acid than Pepsi Complete's antacid. Nothing's faster. Just ask a real panel of experts.
Designing an all-season tire to outperform performance tires wasn't rocket science. Then again, maybe it was. Pilot Sport AS. Our most advanced C-rated tire ever. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
Chill out, cash in. Buy 4 Michelin tires and get a $50 rebate. See your Michelin dealer. Offer ends July 31st.
Get it all, get it here. Superstation WGN.
8-2, Atlanta the lead through 5. Sammy Sosa coming to the plate in the 6th. Before he does, let's tell you what's coming up later here on WGN.
In the Hong Kong underground, the world's greatest warriors fight in a battle to the death. Jean-Claude Van Damme stars in the action thriller Bloodsport. Wednesday at 8 Eastern on Superstation WGN.
That'd be nice. There's still time for it to happen. But with Greg Maddux on the mound, as Yogi would say, it's gotten late early. He has thrown a workmanlike 4-hit game at the Cubs tonight. 8-2, he leads it.
He's starting to throw more ground balls, which is normally what he does. And he'll be the next guy to 300.
One strike to Sammy, who has an RBI on a ground out.
And Chippy, with Greg Maddux probably going to get there next year. You figure Tom Glavine down the road getting there. It's really hard to envision too many more people getting into that exclusive club. 300 wins, something very difficult to do. You don't have to not only have to be good, you have to spend a lot of time in the game.
You have to stay healthy. You have to pitch
with a good team. It would help anyway.
Certainly he's done that. And that will be one of the real interesting stories to follow this offseason. I don't think Maddux or the Braves, and this is just a guess, I don't think they'll talk about it during the season, with the bigger picture being a chance at another World's Championship perhaps. But that man in many ways is like Phil Jackson. You can say on one hand, why is Leo Mazzoni such a good pitching coach? Well, yeah, he's had great talent with which to work. The other side of that coin is he's gotten the most out of that talent too. He's done a terrific job here.
Well, he's a disciple of Johnny Sane, a man that I pitched under. Maddux Doesn't strike out many anymore, but he got Sosa. And there's a look at the big three. The guy on the left now is the closer. At that time, all Cy Young Award winning starters.
Fly ball off the bat of Alou into right field.
And Chip, the one thing that I will say about the loss of Maddux as far as the Cubs were concerned, the one terrible underestimation had nothing to do with Maddux's physical talent. The Cubs knew that he was very good. And it was a combination of both Larry Himes and Jim Fry. What they didn't understand was his effect on the entire pitching staff. He's like another pitching coach. He's baseball acumen-wise probably the smartest man you have on the field, and he makes every other pitcher around him better. And I don't think that the Cubs, because he was only 27 years old at the time, understood his effect on the rest of the pitchers.
Carroll's 1 for 2. You were around the Cubs at the time. I was not. But Cub lore has it that Greg Maddux once called a game pitch-wise for Frank Castillo from the Cubs dugout at Wrigley Field. Is that true?
Well, I don't know if he did, but I will tell you that he can dissect the batting order better than anybody I've ever seen. And it was no coincidence that Mike Morgan, who at the time was 40-some games under 500, had his best year when he was following Maddux in the rotation, and Maddux was talking to him about how to get it done.
Fly ball into left center field. Another base hit for Eric Karros. Boy, this guy's had a fantastic year for the Cubs. He's 2 for 3. We've talked about it in the realm of the bullpen. The Cardinals bullpen, a perfect example. How much better is their bullpen with Isringhausen for the 9th inning, and Klein for the 8th, or Facero for the 8th, and on down the line, as opposed to having those other guys trying to close in his absence.
Well, they couldn't do it is one of the reasons why the Cardinals are where they are with an offense that's #1 in the National League. Well, good night for Eric Karros. A couple of hits. He continues his hot hitting.
And by the way, speaking of the Cardinals, checking the St. Louis Post-Dispatch website, a further diagnosis: Matt Morris, broken bone in his hand. The Cardinals website saying he will go on the disabled list.
Well, that being his throwing hand, you'd have to figure he'd be on the DL for quite some time.
So where do they go? Rumors say they might be looking at Sterling Hitchcock. The Cardinals need pitching, and they need it desperately right now. And Lenny Harris is retired in the 6th inning. Maddux keeps on setting him up and knocking him down. He leads it 8-2.
She's dark green, cashback, low intro, and end of the month. He's yellow, travel, everyday rate, and middle of the month. She's purple, travel, low intro, and beginning of the month. Bank One's Personal Platinum, the simple way to choose your rate, your reward, your billing date, even your color. Bank One's Personal Platinum, issued by us, but created by you. Individual answers. Bank One.
Mosquitoes love me.
Ah, the common mosquito. 2,700 species worldwide. Top speed, 1.5 miles an hour. You're smart. I'm not smart, but dialing 10-10-220, that's smart.
No monthly fees, no commitments. Just dial 10-10-220.
Now that's smart.
And now with a late-breaking story, here's Suzanne.
Thanks, Tom. As the volcano continues to erupt, we take you live to correspondent John Ryland, who's at the scene. John, what's the situation?
Suzanne, as you can see behind me, the lava is covering an area of about 2 square miles. It's a bad situation, but I do have good news.
What's that, John?
I just saved a bunch of money on my car insurance by switching to Geico.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
The first major advance for the fastest treatment of athlete's foot is Lamisil AT. Lamisil AT is the first non-prescription medicine proven to kill the fungus with just 1 week's use. Not even a prescription can beat that. Lotrimin AF and Tinactin still expect you to treat for 4 weeks. Who's going to do that? When your feet itch and burn, using Lamisil AT 1 week keeps you athlete's foot free 3 months. Lamisil AT. There's no better way to cure athlete's foot.
Best way to clean teeth? The dentist. What do thousands use? Same thing Arm & Hammer Complete Care does. Dental baking soda. Deep clean stains regular toothpaste can't reach. Cleans, whitens, freshens. Try new Complete Care. Your whole mouth will feel fresh.
While Fonseca goes to work, the more he's worked, Steve, the better he's pitched of late since the All-Star break. And We talked with Dusty Baker after the Cubs thumping last night. Said Antonio went back to the Dominican Republic, cleared his head, and vowed to come back and pitch a lot better in this second half. And so far, he has done that for the Cubs.
He pitched a couple of innings last night and struck out one and didn't give up anything. So he comes into this one for the 38th time. The ERA at 5.45. And since the break, he's got the hard sinker working again. Seems like Giles leads off every inning, and he's had quite a night.
3 for 3 with 3 runs scored. Back home tomorrow night. Tomorrow at 11:30, by the way, Stephen Iowa will be at Harry Caray's restaurant downtown. Cubs general manager Jim Hendry will join us for Talking Cubs baseball. There are a few good tickets still available. They're $50 each. You get a great meal, a lot of great baseball talk, and I know a lot of you in Chicago are wondering when and if Jim Hendry will be able to pull the trigger and work a deal to give this Cub team some help for the stretch run.
And if you're left-handed, can run and play center field, give Jim Hendry a call because the Cubs are running out of those guys.
He's promised that he's got his cell phone all charged up and ready to go. And he's been running up the phone bill, working the phones with the other GMs around the major league.
And no surprise that Houston bullpen made the 2-0 score hold up, something that they've done all year. So the Cubs know that they've got to mount a pretty good comeback here or risk falling back to 4.5 games back.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Again, one other trade made today. Scott Sauerbeck sent from Pittsburgh to the Boston Red Sox. Pirates traded Mike Williams to the Phillies a couple of days ago, so they're starting to dismantle that ball club. And finally, Giles is going to be retired. Interesting story in the Pittsburgh newspapers. Some of their players were wondering why Dave Littlefield was starting to pull his team apart now. One of their players said, look, if we just stay together and play a little better, we can probably get back to 500 and creep into this race. Well, Littlefield, I think, said something that talks about the tone and tenor of how he wants to change the Pirates' perception. He said, we're not playing for 500. We want to play to win, and right now this team, the way it's constructed, isn't going to get the job done.
There'll be a few other teams who will come to grips with reality, and that is that they will not make the postseason. They'll start to unload. And Pittsburgh, quite obviously, is in the cellar mode. And there's a few more of those buccos that will probably depart before it's all said and done.
One ball, 1 strike to Gary Sheffield. He has just 2 hits and 17 at bats against the Cubs staff. And that one lined out of play. Look where the Braves third base coach lines up. He's in Rene Latchman territory when Big Mac was slugging for the Cardinals.
Freddie Gonzalez is no dummy. He's deciding that with Sheffield, a dead pull hitter and a guy who just clobbers the ball, he's going to get as far back as he can. He'd sit in the first row if they'd let him in the seats.
1-2 pitch off the end of the bat to second, and Sheffield is out number 2. Chipper Jones, the hitter. He's 2 out of 3 with a couple of runs batted in.
Chipper Jones did something that shows you what he feels about this particular team and his concept of teamwork. This is a longtime third baseman, a starting third baseman on a championship team who, when the Braves had a chance to get Vinny Castilla, said, I'll move to left field. And he had to learn the position. And this is a perennial all-star and one of the greats in the game, moving to left field because for the team it was the right move to make. Vinny Castilla has come over and done a real solid job here.
Ball and a strike to Chipper Jones. +1,500 hits for Jones in his major league career, which saw him spend his first full season with the Braves in 1995. He's hit 21 or more homers every full season he spent in the big leagues, and has 7 straight 100 RBI seasons for Atlanta.
Somewhat amazing, hitting .327 last year. And what you appreciate about him, he played in 158 games, so he was very durable.
3 balls, 1 strike. And time called with 2 outs and the bases empty in our 6th inning.
I would think Antonio should be careful here because Chipper's power is left-handed. With a 6-run lead and a 3-1 count, he's only thinking about one thing, and that's probably hitting the ball out of the ballpark if Antonio gets one up.
So if it's Andrew Jones now, who also has a couple of hits and RBIs this evening.
The conversation, Chip, I had with Terry Pendleton was pretty interesting because I asked him, coming up with the St. Louis Cardinal organization, did he know how to play baseball when he got to the major leagues? And he said, I did because of one man, George Kissel. And he said everybody in the St. Louis organization felt the same way. They understood how to play Major League Baseball, how to play winning baseball, and how to play the right way. And he said that's what they've done here in Atlanta.
And I asked Pat Corrales, how do you guys win? What's the secret? He said very simply, we have a very solid base. We know what the foundation of our ball club is, and we build around that every year. We add to it. He said when you have guys like Glavine, when you have guys like Smoltz, when you have homegrown guys, as you mentioned, like Andrew Jones and Chipper Jones and Giles, coming through your farm system, and as you said, ready to play the minute they put on a big league uniform. When you venture out into free agency, you have the luxury of working a guy into your rotation without him having to make mistakes and learn on the fly, as so many other organizations do.
Well, that's what the Cubs are trying to do with their organization and their young players. They're building from within, trying to do it. We're starting to see some of the fruits of their labors, but a whole lot of their prospects are still a bit away.
Down goes Andrew Jones. Antonio Alfonseca with a nice 6th innings worth of work. And it's still Atlanta 8, Cubs 2 as we head to the 7th.
Chicago Cubs baseball brought to you by Pepsi, the official soft drink of the Chicago Cubs.
And you, Wyatt, how'd you make your first billion?
Oil and cattle. Let's call it offshore banking.
Ah! And you, Jones, we're all curious. How'd you make your first billion?
Me? Oh, Pepsi.
You invented Pepsi.
Oh, no, I just drank one.
Want your first billion? Enter Pepsi. Play for a billion sweepstakes. 1,000 winners compete for a guaranteed million on live TV. And one may even win 1 billion.
You guys got a foosball table?
Check specially marked Pepsi products.
Imagine cruising in your brand new Kia Spectra. You got the tunes cranked, the controls at your fingertips, and cash in your pocket. And with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, you're not worried about a thing. Just driving and taking in that new car smell. You know, the real kind. Not that stuff that comes in a bottle. The Kia Spectra, loaded with features for thousands less than a Civic. Imagine that. Now get the Kia Spectra starting at $8,235 after $4,000 cash back.
At Michelin, each tire goes through a series of rigorous tests, including a thorough hand inspection. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
Chill out, cash in. Buy 4 Michelin tires and get a $50 rebate. See your Michelin dealer. Offer ends July 31st.
Adventure Inc. It's not reality.
It's better.
Adventure Inc.
Sundays at 9 Eastern on Superstation WGN.
8-2 is our score as we head to the top of the 7th inning. Let's not put a 0 in that column just yet. Hopefully Greg Maddux will have a few difficulties here as he faces the lower third or Dusty Baker's bunch here tonight.
Well, he's at the 89 pitch mark, and so at this point of his career, normally you would figure he would top out about 105, 110. But he's gotten Bobby Cox exactly where he had to get him, which was into the 7th inning with the lead.
Alex 0 for 2 tonight. He's lined out and bounced out. And that one chopped over third and foul. Interesting story in the Pittsburgh papers today. Kevin McClatchy, the owner of the Pirates, says it's going to be ugly. They're going to have to start slashing payroll again. He says they've lost about $30 million even with the new ballpark in Pittsburgh. And they may have to start moving just about everybody, they say, on that Pittsburgh Pirate roster.
Well, they've got some very desirable people, Chip, but in order to move a lot of them, you'll probably put them together, and teams will, if they want one of their guys that's a quality player, they'll have to take somebody with a high salary.
Maddux wisely waits for the hop and takes care of Alex. In other words, if a team wants Brian Giles, you might have to take either Ramirez or Kendall too.
Well, I would assume of the two, and I'm not sure they're going to unload Giles, only that he's perfect for their ballpark, but if he would be the guy with the contract to Jason Kendall, you would say if you want one, you have to take the other, or Ramirez with somebody, because Ramirez is going to be a $6 million player next year.
Here's Paul Bacco. He swings through it. Is 0 for 2 tonight.
And Chris Benson, another guy that was a #1 draft choice. He's had some physical problems, and he hasn't done what Pittsburgh thought he would do, be a #1 quality starter.
And that goes to show you that one of Bud Selig's legacies will be a lot of new ballparks and at least a hope for baseball renaissances in lots of downtrodden markets. In the case of PNC Park in Pittsburgh, an absolutely beautiful edifice. It has not been the cure-all for that ball club. They spent $57 million on their payroll this season, Steve, and they're 9.5 games out of first place. And no matter what they've done, it hasn't worked there, and the fans aren't coming out to see the product. That's another big problem.
Well, when you build a brand new ballpark and spend enough money on a team to put a competitive team together, and they were fairly competitive this year for most of the season, the fans will have then nobody to blame but themselves if they don't come out and support the product, because there's no birthright to say that the owner has to lose $30 million a year or $20 million a year. He will spend on a payroll as a businessman what you take in, and if you don't come to see the product, you have to have a lower payroll.
High fly ball, shallow left field. Chipper Jones gathers himself, and Hee-Seop Choi will bat for Alfonseca here in the bottom of the 7th inning. When you look at that Pirate team, you mentioned Sauerbeck's gone. They've traded Mike Williams.
Sauerbeck's going to help Boston. He's a pretty good left-hand pitcher, and they added Kim to their bullpen. They added Sauerbeck to their bullpen. And can they catch the Yankees? They're only 3 back heading into tonight's play, and they feel they can catch the Yankees.
Well, they would be the wild card team if it ended today too. And again, I don't think anybody wants to face Boston in a short series. That's the key. Can they get everything solidified before it's all said and done?
They got a wonderful offense, and they've gone out behind Theo Epstein, and they've helped their one glaring need, which was the bullpen, because Byung-Hyun Kim can close, even though they started him when he got there, and Sauerbeck from the left side is really going to help him.
Hee-Seop Choi hits with 2 outs, and that's upstairs. And you figure again for the Pirates, marketable guys: Kendall, Giles, Lofton, Sanders,
Ramirez,
Benson, and Aramis Ramirez. 1 ball, 1 strike. Choi hits that one a long way to left, but another chance for Chipper, and he's got it. And it's time to stretch in Atlanta. Greg Maddux, a very comfortable lead. Braves bullpen gets busy. Atlanta by 6.
You know I like you. I like you a lot. I like Janice a lot, too, and I know she's your roommate.
Janice?
I'm not sure how to say this to you. You know that I like you a lot, right?
Yeah.
It's just that I like Janice a lot, too, and I know she's your roommate, and I wouldn't...
So date both of us.
What? What did you say?
Every day, Western Union provides many possibilities for you to send money to the people you care about. That's why Western Union has over 150,000 agent locations across the globe. Because we understand, when you're helping a loved one who's just starting out, you're sending more than just money. Western Union, in person, by phone, by internet, uniting people with possibilities.
Mosquitoes love me.
Ah, the common mosquito. 2,700 species worldwide. Top speed, 1.5 miles an hour. You're smart. I'm not smart, but dialing 1010-220, that's smart.
No monthly fees, no commitments. Just dial 1010-220.
Now that's smart.
The first major advance for the fastest treatment of athlete's foot is Lamisil AT. Lamisil AT is the first non-prescription medicine proven to kill the fungus with just 1 week's use. Not even a prescription can beat that. Lotrimin AF and Tinactin still expect you to treat for 4 weeks. Who's going to do that? When your feet itch and burn, using Lamisil AT 1 week keeps you athlete's foot free 3 months. Lamisil AT. There's no better way to cure athlete's foot.
Best way to clean teeth? The dentist. What do thousands use? Same thing Arm & Hammer Complete Care does. Dental baking soda. Deep clean stains regular toothpaste can't reach. Cleans, whitens, freshens. Try new Complete Care. Your whole mouth will feel fresh from the dentist clean.
Well, tomorrow it's Salute to Sinatra featuring Frank Sinatra Jr. He'll appear and perform My Kind of Town. Also, he'll sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game with Mr. Cub. Ernie Banks return to the days of the Rat Pack as the game features Sinatra music and Sinatra memorabilia. Salute to Sinatra is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Again, note the start time. Those of you with tickets, it's an hour earlier than as they're printed. A 6 o'clock start to accommodate national television. The Phillies are in town tomorrow night. There are some tickets available. Get them by phone at 1-800-THE-CUBS or online at Cubs.com.
Here's a look at the former Brave, Mike Remlinger. He's 5-3, the ERA 4.61, on for the 45th time. So he's been a very busy man. Only Cal Farnsworth has been on that mound more frequently.
And Mike pumps over a quick strike. Robert Fick, an RBI single and a run scored here tonight. Atlanta leads it by an 8-2 score. No balls, 2 strikes.
Well, we were talking about the possibilities of the Pittsburgh Pirates unloading, and Jim Henry has completed a trade with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and so Kenny Lofton, Aramis Ramirez from the Pirates become Cubs for Jose Hernandez, Matt Bruback, and a player to be named later. So
down on strikes goes Fick.
In one deal have taken care of
2 of their needs.
A speed man and a center fielder in Kenny Lofton, and a third baseman in Aramis Ramirez. We've been waiting for a trade. Jim Henry has just been able to pull one off, and the Cubs will get some offensive help. Vinny Castilla, who hit a 2-run homer in the second, 1 for 3 overall. That was home run number 16. And against the Cubs this year, he certainly padded those statistics. So the Cubs will be happy to bid goodbye to Castilla and the Braves when this one is over.
So Jim Henry,
he's going to be in here, by the way, to
talk about that. And again, he'll be with us tomorrow at Harry's. If you want to ask him about the trades, come on out and see us downtown at Harry Carey's at Dearborn and Kinsey. We'll be there at 11:30 for Talking Cubs baseball. And this is a move that a lot of folks anticipated would be coming. Tonight it has. The Pittsburgh Pirates, who we talked about just a few minutes ago in the unloading mode, have unloaded.
Well, they had a couple of guys that could fill the needs of the Cubs. And everybody wondered when it would happen. It happened just now, and we'll talk to Jim Henry and he'll explain it to you. So Remlinger with a couple of strikeouts. Vinny Castilla not real happy with Scott Nelson.
I did not hear it was Jose Hernandez, Matt Bruback,
and the player to be named later. And so, Chip, what happens in deals like that, you figure out the money. If you're going to take a lot of money back in obligations, then the player to be named later is not going to be a top-of-the-line prospect. And Pittsburgh, I think, is in the mode of unloading, so they're not going to be taking the money. And I would say the prospect will be a good one. I wouldn't think it would be Cisco or Sanchez
or
Guzman.
We'll see how forthright Jim can be, and you can understand the sensitivity of that. But how much of the money will the Cubs pick up this year? Will the Pirates be responsible for any of the Ramirez money? And certainly I agree with you. If Pittsburgh's just saying, here are the guys, you pay the money, the Cubs are probably going to not have to give them as highly touted a player.
And that depends. And you give them 4 or 5 guys, and you say you can pick 1, you can pick 2, whatever the deal is. And with everybody making some trades, Jim Hendry has just pulled off a pretty good one as far as the Cubs are concerned.
Well, you fill a need in center field in Lofton, especially with Goodwin going down tonight.
And a leadoff hitter.
Which is the way this team has played so well with Goodwin's speed at the top. That's number 1. And number 2, you get a guy in Aramis Ramirez who, if you believe the book, is a guy that has an enormous amount of physical talent, but has not been able to get the most out of it, with the exception of 1 season with the Pirates. His work habits have been questioned from time to time. Maybe the Dusty Baker magic will be able to turn that around for him, but when he's right, when he's hitting, he's as good a young slugging third baseman as you'll find in the game. And he was a homegrown product of the Pirates and still very young, Steve. So you hope perhaps with Dusty's influence, with the Sosa and Alou influence in that clubhouse, maybe Aramis Ramirez will see the light and notch it up a bit in a big market with big stakes and big opportunities with this Cub team.
Well, he'll have every opportunity to be successful, and that was kind of an interesting pitch from Mike Remlinger. Well, that's a changeup that nobody's going to hit, and that will probably make more than 1 or 2 highlight reels, as Remlinger all ready to go with the change, and well, the ball falls behind him.
And at least he's smiling about it. And you know his teammates on the first base side are letting him, his old teammates are letting him have it. Well, at least something to smile about here tonight, as far as the score is concerned. But
and something to smile about in the trade market. Ramirez had the big year a couple of years ago, and then going out to the mound in a fight, had an ankle problem, and that really changed things around for him. So hopefully he'll come over here and provide the Cubs with a run producer.
Mike Remlinger, a perfect 7th inning with 3 strikeouts. But the news for the Cubs off the field, a big trade for Dusty Baker and the Cubs. We'll talk more about that when we come back to Atlanta.
There's a new name.
Sharon? Sharon!
In daytime. The Sharon Osbourne Show premieres September 15th.
I just love that man.
Coming this fall on Superstation WGN.
When you hit the brakes, a whole lot of things have to go just right. It's the same with brake repair. That's why you can count on Midas, America's trusted leader in brakes. Right now, get $20 instant savings on any brake service from Midas. Even on Midas's famous lifetime brake pads and shoes. The last set of pads or shoes you'll ever buy. That's $20 instant savings right now from the auto service experts, Midas.
You taking that for heartburn? Panel of experts recommend it.
More doctors recommend Tums. Dose for dose, Tums Ultra neutralizes more acid than Pepsi completes antacid. Nothing's faster. Just ask a real panel of experts.
Imagine cruising in your brand new Kia Spectra. You got the tunes cranked, the controls at your fingertips, and cash in your pocket. And with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, you're not worried about a thing. Just driving and taking in that new car smell. You know, the real kind. Not that stuff that comes in a bottle. The Kia Spectra, loaded with features for thousands less than a Civic. Imagine that. Now get the Kia Spectra starting at $8,235 after $4,000 cash back.
8-2, we head to the 8th inning. Good news is Greg Maddux finally out of the game. Bad news is you only have 6 outs left, and Kevin Grabowski is the first man in, with DeRosa taking over at second for Giles.
Grabowski 5-3, the ERA 4.41, on for the 47th time. And he inherits a 6-run lead as Maddux got the game into the 8th inning, gave up a couple of runs on 5 hits. As is his custom, he didn't walk anybody. He fanned just 2. But he will be in line to move his record to 9-8 if the Braves can hang on.
Top of the order for the Cubs, Hubbard, Grudzielanek, and Sammy Sosa. Again, if you're just joining us, it's 8-2. Atlanta has a big lead. Sergio Mitre started for the Cubs. Up from Double-A. Cubs were hoping to catch a little lightning in a bottle. He had trouble with the base hit early in the game. Atlanta tagged him for 10 safeties on the night, and he was chased from the ball game. But the big news for the Cubs, just announced a moment ago, Cubs have acquired Kenny Lofton and Aramis Ramirez from the Pittsburgh Pirates for Jose Hernandez, Matt Brubach, who is a minor league right-handed pitcher, and a player to be named later. And we're hoping to have Jim Hendry upstairs here in just a moment to talk about the big trade as Hubbard leads off the 8th inning against Grabowski.
Well, a few things came into play with that trade. If you weren't with us earlier, you do know that Corey Patterson has been out, and Tom Goodwin hurt himself rounding second base. And it left the Cubs fresh out of left-handed speedy center fielder. And you know, they've been looking for a run producer at third for quite a long time. And Jim Hendry, I believe, feels that Aramis Ramirez has a chance to be a pretty good one.
He's still young. He can hit the ball a long way, and as you mentioned, he had that great year a couple of seasons ago, a 30-plus homer, 100-plus RBI year for the Pirates.
He's only 25 years old.
Exactly.
He's 6'1", 215 pounds.
And as you know, ever since the Cubs dearly overpaid in trading Ron Santo to the White Sox, they've been searching a long time for an everyday solution to that third base position.
A long time, and a lot of people have played that position, waiting for a guy to play it every day for a long time.
So Grabowski walks Trinidad Hubbard in the 8th inning. And the general manager of the Cubs, Jim Hendry, joins us. And Jimmy, I know all that hard work you've been putting in, burning up the cell phone batteries, finally paid off tonight. Congratulations on the deal. And certainly you hated to see Tom Goodwin go down tonight as well.
Yeah, you know, it's unfortunate. Tom been playing real well, and obviously this trade makes a lot of sense for us right now. You know, we obviously feel like we're still got a chance in the race, and we've been, you know, since Corey went down, we had a need in center field besides Tom, and we certainly have had a need at third base for a while, and it's kind of really heated up today. Dave Littlefield and I had a couple of real good conversations, and you know, he's going to get a real good player, you know, besides the people in the mix already, and we'll work out some details, but he'll have a time period to choose another player out of a group of minor league people that he can go scout.
Well, I was going to ask you, on the player to be named later, you give him a list of players and then he gets a choice. Is that how usually that works?
It won't be a large group, Steve. Dave and I have already settled on some names, and you know, I think in fairness to him, he was very on top of our system, and he's going to get another good player, and he'll have a couple weeks to pick somebody out from a small group. But I think it's one of those deals that it works for us now, and hopefully you know, Ramirez will be a quality guy for us down the road too, and Dave will end up you know, getting a good person out of that, and a pretty good right-handed pitcher in Matt Brubach too.
Contractually, Lofton is done after this year, and Ramirez you have for next year also?
Yes, that's correct.
Ground ball towards second. Braves turn the double play. Will the Pirates pick up all of Ramirez's salary next year? And if they don't, how does that affect the list of players available to Dave Littlefield?
No, it's a straight deal. You know, contracts for contracts, and so you know, like I said, I think Dave was fair to us, and in return, I think we were fair to him, and we're looking forward to you know, Dusty's excited about Kenny, you know, playing for him again, and also our people think that Ramirez has got a chance to be a real good player, and a change of scenery might help him.
When will they be suited up in the Cub uniform and ready to play?
Well, Dave Littlefield, the reason why we're announcing it now is their game was over a lot earlier than ours, and Dave had just got done speaking to him about 5 or 6 minutes ago. So hopefully we're going to get both of them on the phone after the game and have Dusty talk to them, and hopefully they'll be there tomorrow night, but I can't promise that because I have not talked to either one of them yet.
Well, that'll be great. I just have to congratulate you because I know how much work went into making this deal, how many phone calls, how many missed opportunities, how many things didn't work out, and finally you were able to make a trade. Now, does that mean that this is it?
That's what I was going to ask.
Knowing you, I got to believe that there's still some other things.
Well, we're going to still keep looking, and we'll just kind of see how it goes and address some maybe some other needs and see how we perform, you know, the next week or so. And this certainly doesn't stop us from pursuing other things. But right now we're excited about these two guys, and hopefully we can get them in the lineup tomorrow night and start putting a dent in the deficit we have in the standings.
This may sound like a crazy question, but do you feel a sense of relief that you're finally able to get something done? Because I know, in just looking at you and talking to you and reading between the lines, you seem to have been a little frustrated because you saw in your own mind's eye a vision for the ball club, and for myriad reasons you weren't able to pull it off.
Well, I feel a relief. I think our ball club deserves a little bit of a lift. I think our coaching staff and our manager have done a great job, you know, keeping us in the race with a lot of distractions and some injuries, and I felt like it was my obligation to give them a little jolt right now too. So in that sense, I'm relieved, and plus we got two real good players, and I'm looking forward to seeing them in Cub uniform.
As are we, Jim. Thanks a lot. Nice job. Enjoy the rest of the night. Jim Hendry, Cubs general manager. Big trade tonight. More from Atlanta in a moment.
Sosa.
Dates! Pay up!
Come on, 2 out of 3.
I don't think so.
Hey, who Babe Ruth?
At Michelin, each tire goes through a series of rigorous tests, including a thorough hand inspection. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
Chill out, cash in. Buy 4 Michelin tires and get a $50 rebate. See your Michelin dealer. Offer ends July 31st.
She's dark green, cash back, low intro, and end of the month. He's yellow, travel, everyday rate, and middle of the month. She's purple, travel, low intro, and beginning of the month. Bank One's Personal Platinum, the simple way to choose your rate, your reward, your billing date, even your color. Bank One's Personal Platinum, issued by us, but created by you. Individual answers. Bank One.
It has a legendary reputation for reliability, durability, and quality. It's been named to Car and Driver's 10 Best list 14 times. It was the first gasoline-powered production automobile to be certified as a low-emission vehicle in the U.S. And the best part is, it's used. Honda certified used cars. Proof that how you start out in life is a good indication of how far you'll go. You see, it may be used, but it's still a Honda.
Well, those Dutch girls certainly aren't blue about the man from Curacao tonight. Andrew Jones has had a big game, as have the Braves. They lead 8-2 on the field, but off the field, the Cubs, I think, big winners tonight. Lofton and Ramirez from the Pirates are coming over. We wish Jose Hernandez the best as he'll put on the black and gold of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Matt Bruback as well, and a minor league player to be named will go over to the Pittsburgh club as they are going to have to shed payroll. We talked about that. And Steve, again, you've been with this organization a long, long time. How refreshing is it to see the Cubs make a significant deal late in July to give their team and their fans a chance to say, we're going for it, we're in it, let's get it done?
Well, I think the message is sent to everybody in that dugout and everybody on the field that the Cubs will make an effort to win this year. It's a trade that Jim Hendry had to make. It's refreshing to see a guy step out and aggressively try to acquire. And you never know how it's going to work out. I mean, it could be that these guys come here and they don't do very well. It could be they come here and both of them just excel the rest of the way. But the Cubs are in this race. Even with the fact that Houston won tonight, it appears that the Cubs will not win this one. The Cubs are 4.5 games back. But this team has played hard enough, and Jim Hendry told it to us right here when he said they deserve to know that their front office believes that they still have a chance. And they certainly do, especially if those two guys come through the way they've played in the past. And for the Cubs, probably the most significant deadline deal since Rick Sutcliffe, and that was 20 years ago. So you applaud Jim Henry. You can't look ahead and say that both of these guys are going to have magnificent stretches for 7 or 8 weeks, but you can say to Dusty Baker and the rest of the guys in the locker room, guys, we're going to reload a little bit, give you a chance to do something you've been trying to do all year. That's put together a hot streak, and we're going to try to give you a little more offense.
And it does another thing, too, as we talk about next year for the Cubs. With what he's going to make, Aramis Ramirez is going to be the third baseman on this team, barring injuries. That's one less hole you have to worry about filling for next season, too.
Well, he's 25 years old. Exactly. You're talking about a young man.
That ball kisses the chalk, and for Cal, thinking about 2 and maybe more. That's the first man to reach against Mike Remlinger, who struck out the first 4 men he faced.
Dusty has had a habit, and I think when he talks with Kenny Lofton, he doesn't have to tell Kenny anything about him because Kenny played for him. But Dusty's had a habit of getting the best out of every player that comes to him from another organization. And if that's the case, and Ramirez can just fulfill the promise he once showed with the Pittsburgh Pirates, this could turn out to be an enormous trade as far as the Cubs are concerned. You know what you're getting in Kenny Lofton, a quality leadoff hitter and a guy who can go get him in center field. But he's not going to get any better than he's been all of these years, and he's been pretty good most of the time. The X factor will be just what Ramirez can do. Will he take the next step forward and become the player he was a couple of years ago? Only time's going to tell on that one. But Dusty will get the best that he's got out of him because he's done it time and time again over the 11 years he's managed in his league.
You changed uniforms several times in your career.
Yeah, only 5.
Well, one way to look at it is some guys didn't want you. A whole lot of people did. You were a guy who, though, didn't need extra motivation to go out on the field. From a psychological standpoint, getting traded and getting thrown into the heat of a pennant race, as Lofton and Ramirez are going to be doing, what is that going to do for them, and how does that help them elevate their game?
Well, Kenny Lofton doesn't have to be any more motivated because he's been around long enough and he knows Dusty's style. He played for him last year. But with Aramis Ramirez, you'll be able to tell a whole lot about him by when he comes over here. How energized will he be? He should be phenomenally energized. The #1 third baseman in Wrigley Field for the Chicago Cubs is something that he can nail down for a long time.
DeRosa shoots that ball to center, and Hubbard will make the catch, and he got to it so quickly and got it back so quickly that for Cal, one of the fastest men in the game, couldn't tag up. That was a real good play in center. 2 out.
And if the situation that Ramirez finds himself in a pennant race with the Cubs at this time of the year at 25 years old, if that doesn't energize him, along with the motivation of Dusty Baker and the entire coaching staff, then I would be very surprised, because I think he's a better player than he's shown over the last year and a half.
Trying to pull up on the internet Ramirez's numbers this season. And try to get those for you before the night is out. And Jim earlier in the week said, look, if we could find a left-handed hitting guy in the middle of the lineup who could play third base and mash 30 or 40 home runs, we'd gladly find it. They don't grow on trees. This is going to be a real right-handed Cub team. But you have to, at this time, beggars can't be choosers. You pick the best available bat, regardless of which side he swings from, and you'd make the best of it.
Well, it's also one-stop shopping. You got the leadoff man and the left-hand hitter you dearly needed in center field, especially after tonight with Goodwin going down, and you got potentially a power-hitting third baseman. So I don't think that Jim is done quite yet, but now he has to see how his team responds, because they got a tough stretch ahead of them.
Right.
And if they don't close the gap, if they fall back, well, you might make a different type of trade. If they close the gap, again, what this team does from here on out for the next, well, up to the trading deadline and maybe a few days after that will determine what kind of move, if any, Jim Henry will do. So he's taken the first couple of steps. Now it's up to the ball club to take the next few, and then we'll see what happens.
Well, you do know by August 21st, you will finish your series with the Astros. The Cubs have 10 games with Houston between now and the 21st of August. After that stretch, they have 8 games left with the St. Louis Cardinals. So when you look at August 19th, 20th, and 21st, the 26th, 27th, and 28th, 3 on the road in Houston, 3 on the road in St. Louis. Then you've got a big 5-game series starting 1st of September against the St. Louis Cardinals. Those are going to be the critical head-to-head divisional matchup games. And then, of course, you've got home and away with the Dodgers and Arizona sprinkled in as well.
For the Cubs, when the schedule makers made this schedule, they knew that this was going to be a real tough stretch at the end of July and most of August. But if the Cubs can get through into the first week of September and stay in the race, they will play Milwaukee, Montreal, Cincinnati, the Mets, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. If this team can stay afloat, the schedule maker favors the Cubs in September. That's all you can ask for. And all the team can ask for is their general manager to show enough faith to go out and make a deal. A significant, meaningful deal while there's still a chance to win the division.
Ramirez's numbers this year, a .280 batting average, 12 home runs, 67 RBIs for a woeful Pirate attack, 68 strikeouts and 375 at bats, so he makes contact. What does raise alarm bells is the error total as Chipper Jones gets hit in the face on a foul ball. Ramirez with 23 errors at third base, but thick grass at Wrigley Field, shorter fences in left for Ramirez. You figure a much easier park to homer in than PNC, his former home park in Pittsburgh.
Well, I don't want to short sell the defensive aspect of playing third base, but you don't win pennants with a defensive third baseman.
No doubt about it.
You win them with a guy that can drive in runs, and he's ticketed to drive in over 100 this year. And the Cubs would like to see him in the 60-some games they have remaining drive in about 50 more, hit a few home runs. And you're right, you made a good point about the thick grass at Wrigley Field. Don't forget, Ron Cey came over late in his career when he had very little range. They had Cey and Bo on the left side. They grew the grass seemingly U.S. Open rough length, and nobody hit the ball through the left side.
Another strikeout for Mike Remlinger. He's punched out 5 men in 2 innings of work. Last chance for the Cubs on a very big night tonight in Atlanta. 8-2, Braves lead it.
Chicago Cubs baseball brought to you by Southwest Airlines. More than 2,700 nonstop daily flights to 59 destinations all across the country.
Flying to the Washington area for business? If these 8 reasons don't convince you to fly Southwest Airlines nonstop to Baltimore Washington International, maybe this will. Now you can fly to BWI for just $79 each way.
You are now free to move about the country.
Mosquitoes love me.
Ah, the common mosquito. 2,700 species worldwide. Top speed, 1.5 miles an hour. You're smart. I'm not smart, but dialing 10-10-220, that's smart.
No monthly fees, no commitments. Just dial 10-10-220.
Now that's smart.
Imagine cruising in your brand new Kia Spectra. You got the tunes cranked, the controls at your fingertips, and cash in your pocket. And with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, you're not worried about a thing. Just driving and taking in that new car smell. You know, the real kind. Not that stuff that comes in a bottle. The Kia Spectra, loaded with features for thousands less than a Civic. Imagine that. Now get the Kia Spectra starting at $8,235 after $4,000 cash back.
You see her. She sees you. Good thing icebreakers and Tense flavor crystals give you crystal fresh breath. That should help you break the ice.
Get the cool.
Icebreakers and new Icebreakers Unleashed, the best way to break the ice.
They fight to protect a world that doesn't even know they exist.
Mutant X, Sundays at 7 Eastern on WGN Superstation.
Those of you tuning in for the award-winning WGN 9 o'clock news, that'll follow Steve and me from Atlanta. You won't want to miss Dan Roan's sports report tonight. Big Cub news today. They acquired Kenny Lofton and Aramis Ramirez from the Pittsburgh Pirates for Jose Hernandez, minor league pitcher Matt Bruback, and the player yet to be named. So the news follows us, and we are in the 9th inning. Alu, Karros, and Lenny Harris are coming up.
The Cubs went on the road to a couple of tough places to play in Florida and Atlanta. Worst case scenario, and you would think, barring a phenomenal comeback, they will come home 3-2 and be right in the thick of the race with a lot of Houstons coming up. And if the Cubs can beat them head to head, they can put a dent in that lead. Obviously, you climb over St. Louis first, and then you worry about the Astros. But right now, with the health of St. Louis and the health of the Houston Astros, you have to like the Astros' chances. It's going to be tough for the Cardinals.
Line to short, hopped and picked up by DeRosa. Nifty play. 1 out in the 9th inning. Again, when you look at the glass as half full, at least the Cubs didn't have to see John Smoltz, which is always a good idea. 1-4-3 the official scoring on the putout.
One of the guys that's had a very good night, Eric Karros, came in with a batting average of .330. He's improved on that with his 2 for 3.
A strike to Karros. You figure Dusty's going to play him the bulk of the time. Bouncing ball up the middle, and that's into center field. Eric Karros has a 3-hit game, and I guess that might answer my question for Steve. The more he hits, the more he is going to play. So Eric's aboard with a 1-man out in our 9th inning, and Harris the hitter. Lenny is 0 for 3. Thanks as always to our great crew here in Atlanta. Our producer Pete Toma, Skip Ellison our director, Eric Welch our associate producer, the executive producer of WGN Sports Bob Borwald. Thanks to our AD Patrick Roselli and our studio coordinator Joe Pizzo. Another hit into left field. Chipper Jones misplays that. And scampering around to third is Karros. Harris slides into second awkwardly, and he's in safely. It's a single E7, allowing the runners to move up.
John Smoltz is up and throwing in the bullpen, and Chipper Jones has this one get by him. This has not been a real artistic game on either side, but so far the Braves have all the best of it.
Braves with 3 errors in the game this evening. A dropped pop-up by Robert Fick in the first inning. An E6 on for Cal in the 4th, and now Chipper Jones here in our 9th inning. One ball, 1 strike. It's 1-2. You won't want to miss the Cubs and the Phillies tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. His first pitch. Will Lofton and Ramirez join their new team in time to beat up on Randy Wolf? Cubs fans sure hope so. It'll be Frank Sinatra Jr. at the ballpark, singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." 2-2. Little tapper, rolled foul. The Cubs will get eventually a 12-homer, 67 RBI man hitting .280 in Ramirez. Kenny Lofton, 18 stolen bases, 9 home runs and a .277 average, and a guy that you know can go get him in the outfield, and as you mentioned, Steve, a bona fide leadoff guy for an attack that really flourished with Tom Goodwin doing just that for Dusty Baker. Grabowski making it interesting here in the ninth.
Yeah,
3 balls, 2 strikes.
I think the message is sent. I think the Cubs realize now that they're going to have a little more ammunition to use. And I'm not sure how Goodwin is going to fare, and hopefully he won't be out any length of time, but we're getting a couple guys that will help this team at the right time.
Cubs are down to their final out now. It's going to be Paul Bacco with second and third, 2 away. Paul is 0 for 3 in our game. Back on WGN Thursday afternoon. That'll wrap up the brief homestand with the Phillies. A 2-game set. A line drive over short. And Paul Bacco's going to drive home 2 here. He'll hustle into second and slide in ahead of the Andrew Jones throw. So it's an 8-4 game. Bacco has 10 runs batted in. So again, Atlanta's middle relief from time to time has given Bobby Cox a few more gray hairs than he'd like to have.
The Cubs knew that this was the soft spot in the Atlanta attack. It is a terrific team, but they've got bullpen problems. And somewhere between Maddux in this case and Smoltz at the end, this team is very vulnerable. So the Cubs now have cut the lead to 4. They have 1 out to go. And it's Troy O'Leary.
A quick strike to Troy. 2-game set with the Phillies. Then next weekend, we are down in Houston. The Friday and Sunday games here on WGN as well. So those of you around the country who want to see how the new Cubs are going to fit in, you'll have a whole lot of opportunities to do just that. 3 of our next 4 Cub telecasts right here on WGN Sports. Way upstairs to O'Leary. 2-1 your count. So the first significant trade within the division made by the Cubs. We'll see how the rest of the Central responds. Troy has a late strike 2 call. 2-2 your count. He thought it was low and away, and the crowd of 39,000 starts to make some more noise here in Atlanta. And he does stay alive here. Again, the news is following us from Atlanta. Hope we can keep the news folks at bay a few more minutes, and maybe the Cubs can pull off a 9th inning miracle here. Down to their last out. 8-4 your score. Smoltz continues to work in the Atlanta pen. The 2-2 pitch on the way. And the ball game is over. 8-4. Cubs finish the trip, Steve. 3 up, 2 down. They're 4.5 games behind Houston. But a huge news-making night for Jim Hendry and the Cubs. Lofton and Ramirez are coming to Chicago.
If you'd asked Dusty Baker when he left town if he'd have taken 3-2 going to Florida and Atlanta, he would have said, I absolutely will do that. That's where the Cubs will come home. And there's the trade. That's making the news tonight. As the Cubs fall a little short against a very good team, but they did have a winning road trip. And the Philadelphia Phillies come to town for a 6 o'clock start tomorrow night.
And we will take a break from Turner Field. 8-4. Braves and Cubs split the series. Back to recap it right after this.
Next on WG News, a fierce gun battle in Iraq, and when it's over, 2 of Saddam Hussein's sons, 2 of America's most wanted men, are dead. We'll have late details. Plus, the day after the E2 nightclub disaster, shocking remarks from a police radio frequency, and it's caught on tape. And the New Hampshire man accused of killing his 2 children, and why part of the investigation is now focused right here in Illinois. Those stories in Tom's cooler forecast. The WGN News is next.
On the next, Will and Grace.
She was my Grace before I met Grace.
An old flame looking for a donation.
She asked me to help her have a baby. I'm a little freaked out here.
If you could go down to the sperm bank on your lunch break.
I was really more in the mood for soup and salad.
But if Will's willing to give,
I'm doing it!
he needs to handle it.
Whatever you're doing, stop!
With Grace.
You can't give your sperm to Claire, because that sperm is mine.
Sorry, but I'm pretty sure the doggone sperm is mine.
Next, Will and Grace.
Tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern on WGN.
for letting me bring Fifi.
Oh, anything for you, baby. I'd give you the moon, the stars, and the ultimate love potion. Ice cold Bud Light.
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
Don't worry, I got him.
Best way to clean teeth? The dentist. What do thousands use? Same thing Arm & Hammer Complete Care does. Dental baking soda. Deep clean stains regular toothpaste can't reach. Cleans, whitens, freshens. Try new Complete Care. Your whole mouth will feel fresh from the dentist clean.
Accidents can happen anytime. That's why Geico's here 24 hours a day, every day. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
You taking that for heartburn?
Panel of experts recommended.
More doctors recommend Tums. Dose for dose, Tums Ultra neutralizes more acid than Pepsi Complete's antacid. Nothing's faster. Just ask a real panel of experts.
Sosa.
Dates! Pay up!
Come on, 2 out of 3.
I don't think so.
Hey, who Babe Ruth?
When did you first try it?
2 weeks ago.
Last night.
Why do you like it?
What's not to like? I'm calling my grandson across the country for 3 cents a minute and 39 cents to connect.
10-10-987 is cheap.
It's cheap.
Dial 10-10-987 for 3 cents a minute to Canada and Western Europe, too.
3 cents a minute to my cousin in Ireland.
To my boys in Canada.
That rocks.
Could it be any easier?
I just dialed 10-10-987, then 1 and the number.
What's to think about?
10-10-987.
You gotta try this.
Well, despite an 8-4 loss at the hands of the Braves, Steve Stone, this was a great night for the Cubs. They pull off a blockbuster deal, and they will head back home with a 3-2 road trip. Greg Maddux beat Sergio Mitre in this series and road trip wrap-up from Atlanta. But the Cubs got the help they were looking for. It's coming from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Lofton and Ramirez, we hope, will be on their way to Chicago in time for tomorrow night's game against the Phillies at home.
One-stop shopping. You get 2 needs. You make a tremendous trade for Jim Henry. He went after a couple of guys he needed, sending a message to the ball club that this year they're going to try to win the division. And the Cub fans, I think, are mighty happy about this trade tonight.
And the players ought to be too. Should be a pretty excited flight heading back to Chicago as we face the Phils tomorrow at the friendly confines. Tonight's Budweiser play of the game, Vinny Castilla. Good riddance. We don't have to see him hopefully until the playoffs. Castilla's had a very good time of it against the Cubs pitching staff. 3 home runs, 12 runs batted in. More than enough for Greg Maddux to win his 9th game of the year. The Phillies are in tomorrow. Again, a 6 o'clock start. It's Sinatra night at Wrigley Field. We'll be back on Thursday, 1 o'clock. The series wrap-up featuring Kerry Wood and Vicente Padilla. Harry Callis will be along for the 6th inning to do some Hall of Fame play-by-play. And Shania Twain to sing the 7th inning stretch. Great tickets still available. Come on out and see the new Cubs and hopefully the start of what should be a real exciting second half for Dusty Baker and the Chicago Cubs. Final score again from Atlanta. Braves win tonight, 8-4 our final. For Steve Stone and our entire crew, Chip Caray from Turner Field. Thanks for joining us and stay tuned. The award-winning WGN News is coming up now.